92.2 Rochester. And streaming online and in the Odyssey app at The Fan Rochester. The sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan Rochester. An Odyssey sports station. The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
We're into May now. This is scheduled release month.
It's a couple of weeks. We'll get it.
There's guys that are still out there that can be had that I think could add to this wide receiver room. So I don't think Brandon Beane's necessarily done. He's just going to have to do a lot of late in the season shopping.
Mike Danger.
What do you mean expiration? It's snacks. Like, it's not healthy to begin with.
Gene Battaglia.
If you want to bet on video games or Papa Shot.
Hello, Tyrese Maxey. Welcome to the show.
The short-handed Bucks forced Game 6 in Indy tomorrow, and the Cavs held off the Magic for a 3-2 series lead.
Give me the Mavs. Give me the Celtics by 17. Boston in a beatdown.
Avalanche finished off the Jets 6-3. They win the series in 5. And the Hurricanes disposed of the Islanders 6-3 to take that series.
Pesky Hammer, safe as death.
And I do want to talk about Mike Trout. Another bad break for him.
Not a winner.
Because of a swarm of bees.
It's showtime! The Mets win! Put it in the books!
Dandalorian trolling us.
Don't you know that you're just a game to me?
95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan. Rochester.
Hey there, good afternoon, and welcome on into the Sports Bar. It's Danger and Battaglia, Rochester's only local sports talk show. Glad you're with us and listening along at 95.7 FM, AM 950, The Fan Rochester, and the free-to-download Odyssey app, also on your smart device. When you ask it to play 95.7 The Fan, we've got our video stream up on our YouTube channel. That's the Fan Rochester on YouTube, and also streaming on Twitch, twitch.tv/The Fan Rochester. Gino, do you want to know how I know I'm getting old?
There's many answers I could go with.
There's a lot of reasons why, but this is me personally, like, recognizing, man, I can't do it the way I used to do it. Every night, and maybe this is partially because of how regimented and routine I am, but every night, go home after the show, check in with the family, the girls, we have dinner. We always make a point to sit around the dinner table, talk about our days, leave everything there on the table, help clean up after dinner. And then everybody kind of does their thing. Sandy will get her materials ready for tomorrow morning's show. Lexi might go up into her room and do her homework. Leah will edit some video or do some work that she has to get done. And inevitably, I'm left looking for action. And so I'll be flipping around either in the man cave, in my recliner, or more recent turn of events in the screened garage.
So, bottom line, after dinner, the girls leave you alone. They go do their own thing, and then you're left to kind of watch sports.
This is how I know I'm getting old. It's almost like clockwork. It's not a nap. It's more like a doze, and it happens almost every night right around the same time. I hit a wall, and it's usually when I stop, right? When you stop, because I move all day, but when I stop, that's when it hits me like a ton of bricks. And I'm not taking a nap because I don't feel refreshed, and I doze off. And inevitably, I'll wake up 10 minutes later, 15 minutes, or I'll go back and forth, and I'll miss little lapses in periods of time of the game or whatever happens. And the reason why I bring this up is I'm nervous. Tonight, my nephew is performing in a band concert, grade school band concert. And it just happens to coincide with the same time that I would normally hit that wall. And I don't want to be the uncle that's dozing off during a band concert. But I'm nervous that I'm going to be the uncle that's dozing off during the band concert.
Okay, so I'm going to give you, because not the band concert, but I sat through how many. Like, the band concert is one thing, and it's school, it's there. It's the dance recitals where your daughter is up, and you know this, like
my niece,
4 hours and they dance 3 times.
Yeah.
So I go through mental exercises. I'm going to give you one tonight.
Okay.
It's a 12-team draft. Do your own first mock draft in your head. Go before you even look at anything. That will keep you away.
I'm drafting players from the band?
Yeah. No, you're doing a mock draft.
I'll take clarinet in round 1. I'm going to go trombone round 2.
No, you're going McCaffrey 1, but then who's number 2?
Oh, I see. You're saying like a fantasy football mock draft.
Just give you some...
I thought you were saying the people performing, you draft them in your head.
The other thing I could say is I could give you a lifeline. Like, look, I know people that work in television. I'm not going to name any names, but it's kind of convenient when you get out of these things, and every once in a while you have to go to the work card. Danger, you want to join me on the broadcast
Listen
tonight?
to you. Where are you at tonight?
I am at St. John Fisher University. It is the Empire 8 semifinal for the women's lacrosse team taking on Hartwick.
Sure.
Here is your stat. Amazing stat. All-time Fisher against Hartwick. 23-0.
Ooh.
Even more impressive. The last 21 wins have been by double digits. And if you know what happens when a game gets to double digits,
You're going to get Yahtzee tonight.
you get a running clock.
You get a Yahtzee tonight.
Yes. So for you, the Gentle Sports Bar listener, if you're listening tonight somewhere between 7:30 and 8 o'clock, the code word is Yahtzee. Yahtzee means running clock, and Daddy gets to go home early.
I would tell you that offer is enticing, except the way you just previewed the game. I think I might be dozing off at some point while calling the game with you.
I'm sure somebody at Fisher right now is like, Gene,
Fisher's up 15 goals, Gino.
Hey.
I'm hitting that wall. That 7:30 wall is hitting me real hard right about now. So I just already know, like, I am struggling today. Last night was an unbelievable night of action. We're going to talk about all of it, and it kept me up probably later than it should have. Maybe many of you are in the same boat, and I'm just nervous that tonight I'm bad uncle because I'm dozing off, knowing that I didn't get the full night's sleep that I probably needed to get.
Sit in the last row.
Well, see, okay, tell me what I need a verdict on this, because Sandy will be exiting early. She has laid down the law. Like, look, she's a creature. She's more a creature of habit than I am, and I'm pretty habitual.
I looked up dictionary set in her ways, and I saw a picture of Sandy.
She is very regimented, very routine, and she needs to be home by 8. She's asleep before 9 o'clock. She gets up early. I wish I had that kind of discipline. She's up every morning. She does the morning show, and she has to be up that early. I can't do that. I don't have that level of discipline. She is going to sit as close to the exit as possible because she is going to exit early. But she wants to be there to see him and to show support, which I want to do the same thing. Last year, I took advantage of that early exit, and I left with her, and I felt terrible for doing it. I'm not getting up at 4 in the morning. I just left because my wife left. Now, if she leaves by herself and I stay behind, am I a bad husband? Is it worse to be a bad husband and not support her? Or is it worse to not support my nephew and stay through the duration of the band concert and give him his credit afterwards?
You have no excuse. You have to stay. You're there for your nephew.
I felt guilty leaving last year.
Yeah, you have to stay. Or you have to come up with an excuse like, hey, you know what? There's some technical issues out at Fisher. I gotta go. I gotta go to work. Come on, everybody's done that. I gotta go. Gotta go to work.
Yeah, that's not gonna fly. I can't do that. All right, so maybe it's just a quick run through the Tim Hortons drive-through, hoping that they can still serve me some coffee before I go. There's something, a little jolt, a little boost, a little bit of energy to push me through that 7:30 wall that inevitably, and again, never used to be that way. I'm not sure when maybe it was the pandemic. I don't remember when that happened to me specifically, but now it's like clockwork. You could say my kids know exactly when I'm hitting that wall.
There's been people we know that use the work card, Danger, somebody you would never think. So I'm probably going to get in trouble for sharing this story, but in my neighborhood, Alex's father, Alex, the husband of Kimmy Coffee on the break room. Okay. And so father-in-law and stepmother-in-law in the neighborhood. And stepmother-in-law, dance recital. It's time for this. And Executive Bruce says, hey, tell me about the dance recital. Oh, no. Kimmy can't make it. There's an RIT hockey game. And the Tigers were no hockey game.
Wow.
And Kimmy, what? I'm like, pulled her aside. I'm like, Kimmy, you did that?
I just realized.
wow.
I just realized something. the Coffees have secret agents in your neighborhood and my neighborhood. Kimmy's parents live in my neighborhood.
All right, so
you have Alex's parents in your neighborhood, Kimmy's parents in my the Coffee and the Bernstein family. Yeah, they're overseeing their.
Yeah,
you have sleeper cells.
That's right. They're overlooking us here. Now, hopefully that story doesn't get back to Miss Debbie Coffee. But
boy, that's unbelievable. Fun show lined up for you this afternoon. Plenty to get to here in the Sports Bar, including Sal Mayorana of the Democrat and Chronicle. We will talk some Buffalo Bills with Sal coming up around 4:25.
Yeah, so looking forward to this conversation. How do the Bills do in the draft? Where do they need to go from here? I mean, I think a lot of people are saying it's just not enough at the wide receiver position. Like, this is all that there is. I mean, like you would say the roster is not as good as it was last year, but is that entirely a bad thing? It's a new thing, certainly. We'll talk to Sal coming up in the 4 o'clock hour.
And joining us later this hour, one of our favorites, whenever we talk basketball, whenever we talk NBA, college, or otherwise, Jimmy Patsos from NBC Sports in Washington will be stopping by the Sports Bar.
I already know what name he's going to drop on us.
Tell me.
Because Jimmy today, he does some work for Under Armour. He's like this ambassador, right?
Yeah.
Hanging with Juan Soto today. Remember, Jimmy's based in, he's in the Delmarva region, so he's over in Baltimore. That's where the Yankees are. Yankees playing the O's tonight. So Jimmy hanging with, like, how many times? I was playing golf with Kel Ripken.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Me and Coach Boeheim. Yeah, he's always dropping names. Love Jimmy Patsos. Wonder if he'll give us some new shoes. Daddy needs some new shoes from Jimmy, the Under Armour ambassador. We'll get to that with Jimmy Patsos. Man, tough one for the Knicks last night.
So I hear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, you had them and you kind of let them off the hook. And Tyrese Maxey doing what you wish you're if you wanted Joel Embiid to all of a sudden show up in the fourth quarter, no, it was really Maxey. In fact, Embiid getting benched for a period of time there, Maxey, the catalyst and everything going through Maxey and Maxey taking over. And you look at this team now, and I struggle to call it Joel Embiid's team. It's Tyrese Maxey's team. He was fantastic last night.
The NBA has to be thrilled about that because I know they're going to try to sell us, boy, can Milwaukee come back? Who cares? Hey, how about Game 5 tonight between the Clippers and Mavericks?
Who cares?
Yeah, like, you don't care about Kyrie and you don't care about the Clippers. And
who cares?
Yeah. We need a Game 7 between the Knicks. And this is coming from a Knicks fan. That is what the NBA would love. That's what you need in the first round. This is the problem for the NBA, at least compared to the NHL, although the NHL hasn't been like lights out. I mean, certainly Boston-Toronto's been interesting, but the first round, the NBA usually is a snoozer. We need something compelling, and I think a Game 7 between the Knicks and Philly, I would sign up.
It'd be a lot of fun, and now that series shifts to Philadelphia for Game 6 tomorrow night. And, I mean, if you believe in momentum, Philadelphia has that momentum. The Knicks let them off the hook, and Maxey was the biggest reason why. We'll get to more of that with Jimmy Patsos from NBC Sports Washington here in a little bit. You can join us at 866-4FAN. Our phone number 585-866-4326. You could also reach out to us on Elon's Twitter. That's X. At the Fan Rochester. We love engaging with you there.
If you're a public figure and if you want to go find somebody saying something negative about you, I guess the bigger the figure you are, whether you're a politician or some sort of world leader, it's easily found. Come on, Dion. What are we doing responding to crap on Twitter and X here?
I saw this. Yeah. Deion Sanders clapping back at who was it? Was it a writer? Was it just a fan? Who?
It was just some student talking about he left the program, right? Remember, Deion said get in the portal basically to everybody. And Colorado, the year before Deion got there, they won one game.
Yeah.
So, all right, this is the new world here. So get in the portal, basically kind of saying, hey, you're all caught. And the player saying, hey, this isn't fair. They didn't even get to know me. I could offer something like, okay, you know what? If we won one game with you, we can win one game without you. So bye. And that's where it all kind of started. But then his son kind of chimes in there, where that's also something, too, where Shedeur Sanders, who might be top 5, some have him going number 1, he's going to be somebody we're paying attention to in college football and come the draft in 2025. And he's kind of punching down at this kid, too, and then it just kind of gets messy from there.
Yeah, I don't know why Deion is doing this. I don't know what exactly he stands to gain or benefit from doing any of this, or Shedeur for that matter.
Yeah, Shedeur's quote. So the player is Xavier Smith, and he sat down with the Athletic, and that's the story. So, but it's just, you don't need to comment on this.
It's a story of what? It's a story of him talking about how he left Coach Prime in the program?
He's talking about, yes, and the quote here, quote, he was destroying guys the way he did it. He could have been done with a little more compassion.
Oh.
So this is Xavier Smith. So Shedeur Sanders then retweeting everything was, I don't even remember him, to be honest, bro, to be very mid at best.
Okay. And then Coach Prime has to chime in as well. I don't know, man. There's a couple of things working against Coach Prime, and it'll be interesting to see what that program looks like this year with the guy that you said, his son, who could be as high as the number 1 overall pick come 2025. Come this time next year, we could be talking about the team that drafted Shedeur Sanders with the first overall pick in the 2025 NFL draft. I mean, we remember the fanfare from just a year ago. We remember how many people came out to the spring game, and we've already seen this spring the decline in interest in the spring game. Like the attendance this year versus last year it's almost like cut in half, wasn't it?
Yeah, so that's also a storyline too. And I think this I've got the thing we can criticize Prime on, because then somebody tweeted the kid's stats out. He goes to a different school, 8 solo tackles, 4 pass defense, and Coach Prime says, Lord Jesus. Like, okay, we don't need to go. He's not part of your program anymore. You have to be presidential. And I think if you're a public figure, you have to have self-awareness to know that, hey, when you're up, people are there to tear you down. And if you're Deion Sanders, it's all great. When you're 3-0, it's all great that you're having these videos that go viral and all these students that might be wanting to come to your program. But you have to know there are competitors, and that's just the way the world works, all right? And if you don't believe me, how many instances can you point to, whether it's in sports or whether it's something else? Like Karen the bus lady. Hey, my gosh, money, money, money. She says one thing, tear her down.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. How about the DA? We love her. She's putting away people. Oh, big mistake. Tear her down.
Oh, yeah. Sandra Dorley's had a rough go of it here the last few days.
I mean, there's plenty of instances in sports, and I could just see this heading in this direction, that we're going to jump the shark here on Coach Prime if this team starts out 1-4. By the way, they moved to the Big 12. And yes, the Pac-12 was great last year, okay? But now you're playing against men in the Big 12, too, okay?
They got their butts kicked in the Pac-12, Gino. I mean, like, they started off the season nice, but, I mean, even to Coach Prime's benefit, he laid it out. It's like, look, we're a year or two away. We're not going to be where we want to be for another couple of years. And good old-fashioned butt-whipping at the hands of Oregon last year. I mean, some of those games were not even close.
Yeah, they don't get Oklahoma on the schedule, but just kind of grazing this. Okay, North Dakota State they open against.
They'll beat them.
Yeah, that's a win in week 0. At Nebraska, look, Nebraska lost there last year. We'll see how that kind of goes. Colorado State, that was closer than last year. And then, you get Baylor, Kansas State, Arizona, Cincinnati, Texas Tech, Utah. I'm looking at this like okay, that seems like a 500 team. Yes, they'll be in a bowl game maybe, but
I saw somebody call Deion Sanders LeVar Ball with a headset, and it made me laugh. Ooh. That really, this is now more about propping up Shedeur than it is about actually coaching a winning team, a winning program. That's going to be a fascinating storyline. how do the Buffaloes look in year 2 of Coach Prime? Does it actually move in the right direction? Does it trend in the right direction based on how good it started last year and how it completely fell apart against real competition down the stretch?
6-game losing streak to end the season.
Yeah. Yeah, and there are people who never wanted to build up Coach Prime. There are people I know listening that Coach Prime's act has never worked for them, that they've never been a fan, that they don't. I get it. I appreciate it. I like it. I like Coach Prime. I like the swagger. I like the energy. I like the leadership. I don't have a problem with anything except for him acknowledging something he doesn't really need to acknowledge. If you're bored, then I'm sure there's something you could be doing to help the program. You shouldn't be bored if you're Coach Prime. And I think, I had extra time today, so I'm just going to jump on Twitter and go after these guys.
Yeah, go after the kid because he sat down with the Athletic.
Yeah,
I'm
not crazy about that.
Yeah, like you realize this only went national only because you responded to it.
It's a weird thing, though, how we as a society will build up to tear down or only look for opportunities to tear down those who have been built up. Like when you and I were younger and you saw somebody with success or with wealth, let's just say you're in your neighborhood as a kid and you're riding your bike and you notice that the neighbor got a really, really nice car. Mm-hmm. And you think to yourself, you know what? I can't wait to get to work and make a wage and make enough money where I too can someday afford that nice car. And it feels like in the world that we live in today, when you see that nice car, instead of wanting to work to get that, you'd rather throw rocks at that nice car. Like you want to throw rocks at Coach Prime, or you want to throw rocks at the person who has success. Or in this case, I mean, look, Coach Prime, if he's going to be criticized for doing what he did on social media, I think that's probably warranted. I don't know why he would do that, but I'm still here to say, like, I'm interested in what he does, and I like the guy. I think it's a great story. I think what he's done and what he's doing is a great story, and he's there for his kid. And if you're somebody who is a high burn on Coach Prime, you might want to dial out of the NFL world here or the football world here for the next 12 months, because there's going to be a lot of Coach Prime inserted into the conversation through the college football season, through the NFL season, through next year's draft.
Dude, you say that, but if they don't win, they faded right away once we got to October. They don't win, but
Shador is going to be in the conversation. So even if they don't win, you're going to get a lot of Coach Prime. There's going to be a lot of Coach Prime.
Well, I mean, that's going to make it really interesting for the draft next year, because would Coach Prime actually be the one who would perhaps angle his son to go to a specific team? For example, hey, Carolina, my gosh, they sucked again. They were 1-16. Okay, you're not going to go to Carolina. I would expect Deion Sanders to use that sort of weight next year.
Yeah, again, maybe he is nothing more than LeVar Ball with a headset. We get to Jimmy Patsos, NBC Sports Washington, talk some NBA postseason next. You're in the Sports Bar, Danger and Battaglia. Our phone number is 585-866-4FAN, 866-4326.
You're listening to the Sports update.
It's an overnight trip to Syracuse. Game 3 for the Amherst coming up tomorrow night. The team boarding the bus today. Seth Appert, head coach, wants to keep the team loose.
They're going to go out there and play their tail off. I don't need to make them more nervous. I think if anything right now, you try to find ways to add some levity and some lightness to the moment to make sure they're playing free and playing loose, and safe as death is a good reminder of that.
Appert joining us in the sports bar. NBA tonight, the Celtics face the Heat. Boston could advance with a win. Clippers and Mavs playing Game 5. That series tied at 2. We'll get the thoughts of Jimmy Patsos coming up next year in the sports bar. On the Major League scoreboard, Tigers leading the Cardinals 4-1 in the 9th. Brewers up in the Rays 7-1 in the 8th. Twins trailing the White Sox 3-2. They're in the 5th. Jays and Royals scoreless. Yankees tonight playing in Baltimore. Gene Battaglia, the Fan, Rochester.
They've raised the bar on Rochester Sports Talk. You're in the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
All right, we got to do an NBA postseason check. And when we talk basketball in the sports bar, one of our favorites from NBC Sports Washington, Jimmy Patsos. Coach, great to have you back in the sports bar. And, man, we've got a lot to get to, including, well, Tyrese Maxey doing something last night at Madison Square Garden I don't think Knicks fans have seen since the days of Reggie Miller. What was your take on last night's Game 5 from the Garden?
You know, great to be back. Love Rochester. Love the upstate New Yorkers. Giving my friend Jerry McNamara from Syracuse a shout-out. He got the Siena job. It's a good hire by Siena. They're back on their feet. Jerry McNamara is a really good guy. And that's a guy who clutched performances in the Garden, right? Reggie Miller's performance in the Garden. But you know what? Jalen Brunson had an unbelievable 3 that led to the steal that led to DiVincenzo's 3 only a few nights ago.
Yeah.
This series has been remarkable. Either team should have closed it out. And make no mistake, I mean, the Sixers had that lead. The Sixers were up 1 at home. Like, they could easily have won this series already, the Sixers. And that's how close it is. Yet, I think Jalen Brunson and Knicks have been one of the most unbelievable stories of the year. Tyrese Maxey I knew from Texas when he was in Kentucky. Texas kid goes to Kentucky because we had Emmanuel Quickly from down here in D.C. Quickly and Maxey were 2 kids that fell in the draft, a little too small. Did they do this enough? You know what they do? They both are feisty, play with passion, but Maxey has taken it to the next level to have 46, to have the 4-point play in the Garden, to make the 3 to send it to overtime, and just taking hits, gets bumped to the ground, and gets back up. Both him and Brunson, this is your next wave of new guards. It's very exciting. Who do I think wins? I still think the Knicks beat the Sixers.
Yeah, I mean, what does this do, Jimmy, for the legacy, or where do we go here with Joel Embiid? Because now the narrative's starting to shift here. And granted, he's a player that battled back from injury and got himself back on the court, and he's battling this Bell's palsy thing with his face. But your thoughts on how he kind of fades down the stretch in these games, and now all of a sudden we're all keying in on these little, these little cheap shots that he does every so often, including the flagrant last night.
Yeah, and that was a flagrant. I like Embiid. I've always thought Embiid got himself better, became a better shooter. Look, we just talked about 2 guards, lead guards, really. Now we're going to talk about 2 centers. Him and Joker. They both got better. They both improved. You know, one was the first pick, one was the 35th pick. But yet here they are as the 2 best big men in the league. Joker's got a better surrounding cast. You know, I was in the building when Kawhi Leonard hit the shot from Toronto from the corner and Embiid flew at him. It bounced up, went in. It changed the series. Toronto wins it all. I thought that Sixers team was built to go far. They got rid of Jimmy Butler. They chose to keep Ben Simmons and Tobias Harris. I will refrain from comments on that decision that was made. Those 2 guys want to go to drive-in and eat Dairy Queen. Jimmy Butler wants to play all day. You know what I mean? Come on. But they were inches away. And Harris is actually a nice player. He likes to play. He's durable. I don't want to say that. Simmons has stopped winning. Well, you just took away the 2 guys. I mean, to take Jimmy Butler away from Joel Embiid, for whatever reason that was, I know it was confrontational. Look what he's done in Miami. He needs another player in Miami. You know, they didn't have Hero last year, but they bopped their way to the finals. Well, I feel like Embiid's going to have to do the same thing. And I guess the whole point of this is Durant needed to go to the Warriors to win. You know, Curry was the alpha dog. and Green's a tough guy, and Klay Thompson's 6'8" shooter and can defend. Well, Durant went there and helped him win 2 titles. Kawhi hasn't won it since he went to Kyle Lowry, and they had all the guys in, Gasol and all them. They had the perfect guys in Toronto. I think Embiid needs a little more help. And while I respect Maxey and Paul Reed and them, Kelly Oubre is kind of found a new life. Nicholas Batum's been in the league 16 years. And Tobias Harris is a nice role player, fifth starter type. I know they pay him a lot of money, and I'm not being critical, but he's got to produce more. Someone has to produce more, Look what Brunson. If the Knicks had Randall, they could win it all. I really believe if the Knicks had Randall, they would play the Nuggets. My buddy Byron Kerr is a huge Nuggets fan. I do these George Washington's game with. So he's always talking about KCP or they added this guy or Reggie Jackson. But their whole starting 5 in Denver is good. Boston's starting 5 with Drew Holiday, and I know Porzingis is out a couple of games, is really good. If Brunson had Randall, and Randall started to shoot the ball, I think they could win the whole thing. But they don't. And so now them and Philly are a little flawed because Embiid's humping up and down the court, limping a little. But man, has Embiid turned into a good passer. The guy had a triple-double. He's just gotten better and better. I want to see Joel Embiid get a little more help. If I was the Sixers fan, and they have a lot of cap room coming up, re-sign Maxey, get the guys some more help to see what they can do because his talent and his size, and he can block shots. But I like his feistiness. Yeah, he's a little dirty, but I'm older, so I'm used to the Pistons and the Bulls and the Celtics when they threw Rambus down. The league's changed. But if it's getting a little feistier, but Embiid, he showed a lot of courage to go back and win that game in New York last night, as did the whole Sixers organization. I want to talk about your Cavaliers. Can they do something?
Yeah, I mean, the Cavs are absolutely in this as well, right? Like that series has kind of been a quiet one that I don't think as many people are talking about, but it's a young Magic team that's feisty and a Cavs team that you would assume is a little bit more talented, a little bit more seasoned. They get the win last night, Jimmy. How do you see the rest of that series playing out?
Well, I've seen them play twice. Full disclosure, my father-in-law is a big Cavs fan and an Indians fan, so I hear about all this stuff. Well, I've seen them play, and when Donovan Mitchell wants to play, and he wants to play that night, he's always gives you real effort. But when he really brings it, like he had 40 here in Washington and just hit a couple threes over Kuzma. Both times I saw them twice this year. Matt Strus is the guy that was on the starting for the Heat last year. But it's going to be Mobley. Jared Allen's been really improved, but they've been kind of quiet because it's a smaller market versus Orlando. Banchero's been great. The Orlando Magic is ahead of schedule. Okay, but for now, I want to see Cleveland make the run too. I just have a funny feeling Cleveland could give the Celtics fits to a degree because they have a guy who's an all-star NBA player in Donovan Mitchell. Garland's really good. They got a little bit of depth. Georges Niang's kind of a strange big guy, runs a little funny, but man, he makes threes. He's a tough matchup. So they're really good. I want to see Cleveland and Boston go at it. I think the Pacers will close out the Bucks. Too bad about Giannis. Bobby Portis and them are doing a yeoman's job. I think it's going to come down. I had the Knicks and the Celtics from day one. My question about the Knicks is, man, is Thibodeau playing these guys a lot of minutes? And I know. He did it to Derrick Rose. He did it to Jimmy Butler. Him and Butler for a while. They did used to fight over that a little bit. But Tibbs, his team, is so feisty. But I just, after last night, had they won last night, I had the Knicks going to the finals. That's how funny this is. Now they're going to play out probably 2 extra games here. They're going against a big guy. Bogdanovich is now out. So, maybe the Cavs quietly sneak into that little spot, and then maybe they pull an upset of the Celtics, who are really good but have very little bit. The Celtics, when they don't make threes, are just a different team. When they make them, they're unbeatable. But everybody remember, they didn't make the finals last year. So, yeah, I'm glad. I'm glad you like the Cavs like that. I like the Cavs, too. I got the Nuggets out west. And, of course, Minnesota, and I had Minnesota liking them to win a series or two before last year. They played Denver the toughest. But, a Minnesota-Cleveland, those are the teams I'm really interested in. I think it's great for the new NBA in the future, and those are the teams I kind of want to watch. Would I bet the Celtics tonight? I don't know. It's 14. Would I bet the Mavs? Only if Luke is healthy. But, I just like the Timberwolves. I like the Nuggets. I know they got to play each other. But, those are teams in OKC that are really fun to watch. And the Knicks, you up in Rochester, whether you're at the Angry Goat or you're hanging out at the Spirit Room, I know all your little spots up there. you guys as New Yorkers get to watch the Knicks. This Knicks team is really going to be interesting coming forward with Julius Randle coming back. With the Cavs, I circle the Cavs. If I could put a little bet out there in Vegas right now, I might have a dark horse bet on the Cavs to get to the NBA Finals and win the East.
Former Siena head coach Jimmy Patsos, our guest here in the Sports Bar. One more question on the East, and it's actually about the top seed. You mentioned Boston, Jimmy, and I know a few Celtic fans, and they're all saying kind of the same thing. Like, I'm not sure this team actually has a killer instinct. We've seen them a few times here, and they left the door open a little bit in that Game 4 down in Miami. How do you think this team kind of moves forward here without Porzingis? And ultimately, does it come down to the coach here, like when they're going to be playing better competition?
Look, Joe Mazzulla's, I know him. He's a Rhode Island kid that went to West Virginia. He happened to play for Bob Huggins. I just got to know him a little bit because he's a New England kid where I originated from. By the way, JoJo White, big Celtics guy that lived in Rochester. You guys taught me that. Who was the big guard from Kansas that had won a bunch of titles for the Celtics, lives out there in Rochester. As sad he passed away, but I know that he spent 20 years there. Well, what's interesting?
He chose Rochester, Jimmy. He chose. See, you should choose to come here.
Tell me why.
Why? You got to come up. Well, we will treat you with the red carpet. We will do everything here. It's the people, Jimmy. You would fit right in.
If I was a Division III coach, that Rochester job's good. When I played, both Nazareth and St. John's Fisher were really good coaches and really good players, and Paul Ewing was there, and I think the Van Gundys were there, and the guys at Brockport. So I know you have that in your blood. Let me say this about the Celtics. When Porzingis plays, and he impressed me last year with the Wizards, he was healthy, he'll shot block, he's not really a power center. The question is after him, who's fragile, Al Horford is pretty old, and that's their inside players. I don't know how you guard Embiid or the Joker if that's who you play. Bam Adebayo cost them problems last year, and they didn't really improve at the center position. Look, Brown, White, Tatum's one of the a legit all-star dream teamer for a reason. I think Brad Stevens does a great job. Can Mazzulla X and O him if he has to? I think he probably learned a lot. It's his second year. But Pritchard, Hauser, and Horford's your bench. Pritchard's a little vertically challenged at times. Hauser can shoot the ball, doesn't do much else, and Horford's older. So they ran out of steam. They didn't have a bench against Golden State. They couldn't get past last year against the Heat because of the bench and the big man. And I see the same thing coming. That's why Mobley and Jared Allen would cause them problems for Cleveland. And Porzingis is going to be out a couple games. I think he's going to fight them. Boy, I think he's gotten a lot tougher. I think Porzingis has turned into a good pro. Really loves covering in Washington. But when he makes threes and when he starts playing like a unicorn, he's a different guy. But he's going to have to bring it for the next 6 weeks because we all three of us know, Danger and Battaglia have been doing this a while. You ain't getting through the NBA playoffs kind of cruising or avoiding contact or being soft or any of that stuff. You got to battle for the next 6 weeks one way or another. And I don't see how they're going to avoid it. And that could be the albatross. Just the gritty toughness things. Can the Celtics do that for the next 6 weeks? It's going to be interesting to find out.
Jimmy, I want to have a wider, kind of more philosophical question on today's NBA player. You mentioned earlier, you're an old school guy. You know, we all remember what the NBA was like during that era of Bird and Johnson and Jordan and what it kind of has morphed into now in the LeBron era. And not to take anything away from a guy who at worst is the second best player of all time. But it feels like when guys like LeBron or KD don't achieve the ultimate goal, instead of looking in the mirror, there's a lot of finger pointing and there's a lot of scapegoats that happen. And I see a kind of a turning of the tide here with some of the guys that we're talking about, whether we're talking about an Anthony Edwards in Minnesota or a Jalen Brunson in New York, certainly Jokic. And I think Steph has always had this in Golden State, just a different sort of leadership, a different sort of killer instinct that a handful of guys that are considered stars in this league, and I'll put Embiid in there as well, they might not necessarily have it. Do your eyes see the same thing?
You know, the advent of the super team, and LeBron's the first one that did it. He got 2 titles down in Miami for a reason. But I was so impressed. My opinion of LeBron James changed when he came back from Miami and won in 2016. That was just an incredible win. To do it for his city, he kind of carried him. I think Steph Curry's an unbelievable example. Look, I wanted to see OKC. Scott Brooks is a friend of mine. You know, he was heartbroken. They were that close, and all of a sudden, I want to win it. I want a title, and I want to go to you imagine Larry Bird saying he was going to the Knicks? Please. I mean, just please. And OKC got beat by the Golden State, so I'm not as much on LeBron as I thought. KD kind of started the wave of that. Then Kawhi, who I wish Kawhi the best. I understood why he wanted to leave Popovich in San Antonio. He'd had it. But he goes to Toronto, and you guys know this. You're right across the lake. You know it. Jurassic Park. You're not even the best team in your friggin' city at the Clippers. And you leave Toronto where they had 20,000 people outside the arena that were inside the arena. In other words, I don't mind a little move, but I wish KD stayed at Golden State. I wish Kawhi stayed there. I mean, I wish for a lot of things. Like, the moving around part, I want to see Tatum stay and get a ring. You know, I'm a Boston guy, but, you know, I wanted Bradley Beal on the Wizards and John Wall when I first got the job with the Wizards. Now with Monumental Sports, NBC, they were on the verge of going that way, and they were original draft picks. But that's a little bit different. I want to see, I think the OKC-Minnesota thing's really interesting because those young men, Anthony Edwards, Chet Holmgren, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, you know, Jalen Williams, all those guys, they're kind of homegrown. They like it there, and they're winning. Will they stay? I think Denver with Murray and Jokic is really... So, in other words, my answer is this. There's a lot of hope for the future, but just like in NIL college basketball and just like kids transfer in high schools all the time, there's probably going to be a bunch of teams that have transfers and new guys in the NBA. But can those other guys stay and make it happen? But I would say my asterisk on this, or my like, mea culpa to the league would be, yeah, it's okay to leave once. Like Donovan Mitchell, he did it. He wanted out of Utah. Now, I want Donovan Mitchell to stay in Cleveland. I want him and Mobley and them and their draft picks to get better and Okoro and Garland and them to do it. So, like, maybe one move's okay. Look, I don't have LeBron as the second best player. I got Jordan as the best player. I got Kareem as the second best player ever. You look at him as a young guy, what he did. Like, okay, he moved from Milwaukee to L.A., but then he stayed there. Then he played a long time. People forget he had migraines. He was going against Parrish and those guys. And his 80s, when he thought he was going to retire, put up 5 championships. So I got Kareem. I love Magic, Bird, Dr. J. None of them load management. And that's a different era. In the modern era, LeBron's toughness I love. But, like, I'm really interested to see how Denver does it. They didn't load management against much this year. They kept their starting 5. They got core guys there. I want to see if they can make a run like the Warriors did because I do think some continuity and consistency is good for the league. But like I said, and I'll finish with this, like Brunson leaving Dallas to go to New York was the right move for him. I think it was a good move, not just because of Leon Rose and Worldwide West's dad, but now I want to see Brunson stay there and build it. I'm down with the one move because it's a modern era, but I don't want to see guys moving to 10 teams anymore. I don't think that doesn't make the championship run as fun. And I think Adam Silver's done a good job. I think he's recognized that. I think he's recognized some load management stuff. I saw him speak, but he knows that he can't have stars moving too much because for the average fan, they you know, all of us live it. It doesn't matter. But the average fan wants to turn it on in April, May, and June and kind of see the same people they've been seeing in the same cities. So really important time in the NBA. I think the Knicks fans should be really happy. I hope you re-sign Randall. And it's going to be a really interesting next 6 weeks. I'm happy to come back on, but I'm going to the NBA Combine. Then we get the lottery and where the draft's going and all that stuff. And don't listen to that stuff about the draft. Yes, there's no victor. There's a couple guys that aren't there like the usual, but there's a lot of guys that can help guys. And a lot of teams with the cap issues, like the Suns and stuff, need some guys they can draft because you can't just keep paying everybody. And I will close with this. Buyer beware of what happened to the Suns. They thought they had all the answers, and they just got swept by a bunch of 23-year-olds, and their future is not looking so bright.
Jimmy, when's the next time you're up here? Can we bribe you with golf maybe here?
Oh, I just want to come up and see. You know, it's funny. I just gotta get my butt up there. And Red Hockey's done a good job. I just have to. The Rochester swing is in the books. I'm going to come up. Call me in a few weeks when things get going. You guys are the best.
Jimmy, there's a job opening at RIT for the men's basketball. So I don't know if you would consider that.
Wow.
But
RIT? Is RIT open?
It's open, yeah. Bob McVane retired. So he'd been there, 35 years?
35 years. That's a big hockey school, but I knew the president there. She's now the president of GW. We'll talk. Love you. See you later.
See you later.
Look at you, just brokering deals live on the air. Jimmy Patsos to RIT. Done.
That's what I love about Jimmy.
We'll talk. Love you. See you. Bye.
See you. Bye.
Jimmy's on the phone right now calling his connection at RIT. What do you mean there's an opening?
Well,
you got an opening?
You ever been on the phone with somebody, they try to land the plane on you? Okay, a couple times in that last response, yep, Jimmy's time is up here. He's got another one. I love that guy.
He's the best. He's the absolute best. Love his basketball takes. Jimmy Patsos from NBC Sports Washington. Stopping by the sports bar.
He didn't drop a name, though. Well,
future RIT men's basketball coach Jimmy Patsos right there.
He
dropped a couple.
He mentioned friends. I'm friends with Scotty Brooks. I'm friends with
Jerry McNamara.
Yeah.
And not to the level that we've seen him do in the past, but it's fine. He did a great job as always. We always appreciate when Jimmy stops by the sports bar.
Imagine if you actually applied for that.
Yeah.
Hey, Gene, can you put in a good word?
I didn't hear. I found out about it by listening to the sports bar. That there was an opening.
Of course, he would know the president.
No, it's a big hockey school, but
hey,
Jimmy Patsos.
He should have his own radio show. He really should.
Oh, just wind him up and let him go.
Yeah.
Wind him up and let him go. He's right about the Suns. I mean, his closing point there. Whew. What do you do if you have the Suns?
I think the lesson is, hey, you're a new owner. Congratulations on buying your team. This happens time and time and time and time again. Whether it's the guy with the Broncos, whether it's the guy with the Carolina Panthers, heck, whether it's Terry Pagula buying the Sabres and spending money foolishly, and they still haven't gotten it right with that team. Like, you are the new owner. Stop with that. He was the one who engineered the whole KD thing. Like, that was a team that, wow, they were young and fun, and Devin Booker's still young, but yeah.
Is Booker staying in Phoenix? Would you take Booker right now in New York? Would you take Booker next year with Brunson in New York?
Yes. Yes, I would. Because I've heard people say, well, LeBron would be great in New York. I'm like, no! No.
Just have somebody show up and just be the grenade.
No.
The ticking time bomb.
Yeah, like this other thing, like LeBron in Philadelphia would make a lot of sense. No. You know where LeBron goes? Give me like an obscure team that's down and out. How about Utah? Utah, where they can go. Like, where could we put LeBron now?
Oh, I know where we could send. You know where are we going to send LeBron, Chuck?
Disappointed in New Orleans. Where they going, Chuck? Galveston.
Send him to Galveston.
Dirty ass water. We're not even going to send them to Cancun. We're going to send them to Galveston where that dirty ass water be washed up on the shore. You people think they're in the beach.
That's where we're sending LeBron. Send him to Galveston. Go play in Houston. Dirty as water. You think you're at the beach. Jimmy Patsos. Fantastic as always. Next hour. The equally fantastic Sal Mayorana of the Democrat and Chronicle.
Can you imagine Sal's reaction? He's sitting there in the Buffalo Bills have traded down again. Great.
Yeah.
Great. Fantastic.
Oh, well, that's our first question.
Yeah.
Hey, how was your Thursday night last week, Sal? Just another guy, you just wind up, let him go. Well, I was there. I thought I was going to have something to write about, and then turns out I didn't have anything to write about. It was just a waste of my night. Just a complete waste of my night. Sal joins us right around 4:25. Give us like a half an hour or so. We have time for your phone calls at 866-4326. And we have some takes on tap next in the sports bar with I'll Drink to That.
Yeah, so some opinions here you can agree with, disagree with. What's the Raider plan at quarterback? I mean, if you read Armando Salguero today, I think he's pointing to what is actually going to happen. And you know what? It's not a bad thing. Oh, and also we have artist renderings in Kansas City, artist renderings in Cleveland. Oh, not to mention more follow-up there on those artist renderings in Chicago. All NFL. I'm here for none of it.
NFL stadium news. We should just devote an entire segment to just the NFL stadium.
I'm here for none of it. Like you're going to say, oh, you're grouchy, you're mean. No,
have you had enough? Have you had enough of us paying for billionaires' stadiums?
I think so.
Is that where you're at?
I think so, yeah.
I'm with you. We'll get to that and more next. A round of I'll Drink to That coming up here in the sports bar. Plus your phone calls at 866-4FAN. 585-866-4326.
sports leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester. An Odyssey sports station. The Fan, Rochester. Sports update.
A little overnight trip for the Amerks. They're going to Syracuse already on the bus right now. Game 3 tomorrow night. Series tied at a game each. Ethan Prow, he is ready.
Right now our focus is on Game 3. Getting back to playing the way we can and going into a tough building, but it's one that we played in plenty and know what to expect.
Don Stevens, Brian Duff will have the call tomorrow night. NBA tonight, the Celtics can eliminate the Heat with a win. Clippers and Mavericks, they play Game 5. That series tied at 2. We'll talk some Buffalo Bills football later this hour. Sal Majorana, Democrat and Chronicle, to join us. Rochester Red Wings, Game 2 of their series. They host Syracuse tonight. On the Major League scoreboard, the Twins look for their 10th straight win. They're tied with the White Sox 4-4 in the 7th. Jays and Royals, no score in the 4th. Pirates trailing in Oakland, 1-0 in the 2nd. Gene Battaglia, The Fan, Rochester.
The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
We're into May now. This is scheduled release month. You know, it's a couple of weeks. We'll get it.
There's guys that are still out there that can be had that I think could add to this wide receiver room. So I don't think Brandon Beane's necessarily done. He's just going to have to do a lot of late in the season shopping.
Mike Danger.
What do you mean expiration? It's snacks. Like, it's not healthy to begin with.
Gene Battaglia.
If you want to bet on video games or Papa Shot.
Hello, Tyrese Maxey. Welcome to the show.
The short-handed Bucks force Game 6 in Indy tomorrow, and the Cavs held off the Magic for a 3-2 series lead.
Give me the Mavs. Give me the Celtics by 17. Boston in a beatdown.
Avalanche finished off the Jets 6-3. They win the series in 5. And the Hurricanes disposed of the Islanders 6-3 to take that series.
Pesky Hammer, safe as death.
And I do want to talk about Mike Trout. Another bad break for him.
Not a winner.
Because of a swarm of bees.
It's showtime!
The Mets win! Put it in the books!
Dandalorian trolling us.
Don't you know that you're just a game to me?
95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
You're back in the Sports Bar. It's Danger and Battaglia. Glad you're listening along at 95.7 FM, AM 950. We welcome you to the free-to-download Odyssey app, AUDACY. You can get us on your smart device when you ask it to play 95.7 The Fan. Our video stream is up. We love engaging with you on our YouTube channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe at The Fan Rochester. And also streaming on Twitch, twitch.tv/The Fan Rochester. Audible at the line of scrimmage. Sal is going to join us later this hour.
Yeah, so he will be coming up, so stick with us as we'll get his thoughts here. The DNC long time, I mean, like really long time. Like when I was in, I can make him feel old. I was in college reading Sal Majorana and Leo Roth.
Sure, Sal doesn't like hearing that, but yes, our
But
guest will be joining us coming around 4:45 here later on this hour. We'll talk some Bills and Bills draft with the great Sal Majorana of the DNC here in the Sports Bar. First, we get to some takes.
Yeah, I enjoy reading this headline from our friend Armando Salguero at Outkick, and it concerns the Raiders. Like, we just kind of overlook, like, wait a second, you're really going to go with Aiden O'Connell as your quarterback? That's the plan? Really? Well, this is Salguero's take. Raiders quarterback situation is only one that Tom Brady can save.
Oh, boy.
Look, it fits Danger. Like, he hasn't been approved yet as the minority owner of the Raiders. He's never dove headfirst into his Fox job. Heck, the Raiders even drafted a guy for him, another tight end. Like, what do you need? Oh, that's right. Brady loves himself some 12 personnel. By the way, I'm fine with it all. Come on back. You aren't the big boogeyman anymore. You're getting old. And it would be fun for the league, too, actually. The Raiders would be relevant. I'm all for this.
Do you think Antonio Pierce is going to let another former Patriot into the locker room?
I think that Mark Davis is actually a jock sniffer. I think that he brought in Tom Brady for this very reason, and they've been doing this dumb dance all along, like Brady either be the owner or start getting to work on what it means to be a commentator. And this has a little of Aaron Rodgers look at me kind of thing, meaning if you're really not into it, squash it. At least that's the way I kind of view the world, like make up your mind and go.
How old is he now?
I want to say 45.
No, he's older than that, isn't he? I think he's older than that. If that dude is like 47,
46,
46,
he'll be 47 by the time we get to opening day.
He's a couple years younger than us, dude. There's no way. I don't see this happening.
Okay. If he were to come back, is there any other team other than the Raiders that would say, "Come on back, Tom, we want you"?
No, the Raiders makes. I mean, Armando, I'm sure, makes an excellent point. You're making a great point. Like, if there was a team that would take him right now and use him right now, yeah, the Raiders make a lot of sense because you're going into the season with Aiden O'Connell and Gardner Minshew. That's your plan. And look, Antonio Pierce might be a nice story, but that's your plan? You might want to pay a little attention to what happens on the offensive side of the ball.
Yeah.
I know your defense is your focus, but man, come on. Now, that's showing a lot of faith in Aiden O'Connell and Gardner Minshew, two guys that are just that. They're just guys. They're just dudes.
Yeah, and what, the Chargers rolled over there that game last year. Like, I'm not even. How do you even put any stock into that?
And don't you get the sense, based on some recent comments made by Davante Adams, that he's got some remorse, that if he could do it over again, he probably would have just stayed in Green Bay. I mean, he's not going to complain about the money he got to leave Green Bay. But if you were Davante Adams and not a believer in what Jordan Love could be, and then you watch Jordan Love do what he did last year while you had Aiden O'Connell throwing you the football, yeah, maybe a little remorse that you didn't just kind of stand pat with what you had there in Green Bay. I don't know. Sounds like Adams is just kind of like, well, I am where I am, and this is where I'm going to be. But you can't dispute what Love did last year. And man, if Jordan Love had Davante Adams, would that have been a difference maker for that team last year that almost got over?
Davante Adams has a $40 million dead cap figure, but his base is only 16. That's really, really stretching it, but we would end all the conversations if did the Buffalo Bills add enough here in the wide receiver room?
Yeah, no. I think look more along the lines of pending for remaining free agents. Gino, look at who else is out there and see the bargain bin, and that will be if you get. I think what the Bills are hoping for, man, Quintez Cephas. Maybe there's something there. Maybe we can make something happen with Quintez Cephas. That's kind of where they are, and even if they were to bring in a name at a discount. Is it going to make a difference? Is it going to make you feel like this roster is all of a sudden better than it was last year at this time?
Yeah, Tyler Boyd, OBJ, Michael Thomas, Hunter Renfrow. I don't think they're bringing back Zay Jones, Meekle.
These are all...
Yeah, Valdez, Scanling.
I mean, you've got enough slot receivers on this team already as it is. You've got enough guys that can run routes out of the slot. You don't need Tyler Boyd. I don't think you need OBJ. I don't think you can afford OBJ.
Well, it's more the latter than the former. Why wouldn't you take a flyer on OBJ? He's 31.
Because you can't afford him. Yeah, I mean, I have an observation here from the last few weeks. At some point, our national nightmare has to end. At some point, they're going to have to retire the commercial of SGA and Chet Holmgren singing Christina Aguilera walking onto the team bus. You know the commercial I'm talking about. What a pro wants, what a pro needs. It has to end. I mean, it's everywhere. It's every sport. It needs to end. That's observation one. Observation two. Gino, are you like me where you're at the point now when you see an ad for a medication, prescription or over the counter? I'm afraid to take it and that the side effect might include singing and dancing uncontrollably.
You don't like the lady who's dancing around talking about her A1C?
I know that, like we all suffer from seasonal allergies, but you know what? When I can breathe clearly, I'm not breaking out into song and dance. So if you're trying to get me to try your over-the-counter allergy medication, I'm not singing and dancing if I can breathe clearly. And, if I'm diabetic and now I'm dancing and singing because I've lowered my A1C, that's a side effect I don't want. I don't want that. You can give me, we've heard all the side effects.
how do I phrase this? You know what Spotted talking about, the one with the plus model. She's dancing around. So
Oh
excited.
yeah, she loves being a little bit lower in her A1C, man. She's dancing and singing. All of a sudden, everything is a friggin' musical, and I'm not gonna I'm not breaking out into song or dance because I lowered my cholesterol or I can breathe freely now because it's allergy season. So when can we actually I think that is a deodorant to all of the side effects that every one of these medications has, right? Like they will list all the side effects and all the reasons like this medication could kill you. But let's focus on the dancing and the singing instead. Much better.
Of course, how do you feel?
Yeah.
Like, how does the ad make you feel?
Man.
Yeah, all the feels.
Every car commercial that you see now, like I just want to if I want a car commercial to tell me what your car can do. I want like this truck is manly and this truck can do this and can haul this and has this under the hood. Like tell me that instead I've got puppy dogs and people coming home from tours of duty and we're stringing lights out in a field or we're saving dogs or kittens or ducks or what. Everything is emotion based. Everything.
Good. I'm glad you're finally putting 2 and 2 together here, Danger.
Well, I'm worried that there might be a medication out there that could make my life better, but I'm not going to take it out of fear that the side effect will be I show up to the sports bar with a top hat and a cane and start singing and dancing during the middle of the show. I don't want that to be a side effect.
You know, it's funny. Like, we have spent so much time in the studio together. We've spent time outside of the studio. I don't think I've ever seen you dance.
Oh, it's not pretty.
No.
It's not pretty. I need a couple to loosen me up. I'm not going to lie. Needs to happen. Need a couple to loosen me up. They tried the other couple of weeks ago. I was at the Ronald McDonald House Gala, and it was Great Gatsby themed. So they had the swing dance band up there playing, and the dance floor was going, and my wife was like, come on. I'm like, I'm in the middle of a conversation here. And I probably need a couple more. And I didn't take my allergy medication. Maybe if I would have taken my allergy medication, you get me to sing and dance. But that ain't happening. No, I don't want that side effect. And we need the SGA Chet Holmgren commercial to die. It needs to go away. It's so bad.
I have this in my phone. See, you're so good at pulling stuff up instantly where I can, somewhere I had somebody you don't even know that was in the audience and you were up there. What was it? Was it Ride Sally Ride? When you were doing the backup vocals there with Yacht Club.
Oh, when Yacht Club was playing at Three Heads. Yeah, me and Rob the Takespin got and we did, not Ride Sally Ride, Ride Like the Wind.
Ride Like the Wind.
Yeah, we sung background vocal for background vocal for Ride Like the Wind. That was fun. And I had a few in me. I needed a few in me.
Yeah, that's
a little liquid courage, and we had a good time. But I also took my allergy medication that day, so maybe that's a side effect. Maybe a side effect is you will start singing and dancing.
We have all these stories today in the NFL. I'm just going to lump them under one because they're all kind of, together. So let's start in Kansas City where, all right, we've been kind of sitting back here looking at this squabble. I'll talk about it. About, okay, are they building new? Where are they going to go? And now all of a sudden sticking their nose in here, the neighboring state of Kansas. And I'm sure 99% of you know Kansas City is actually located in Missouri. It's not located in Kansas. That would be like the Bills building in Batavia. But nonetheless, a developer from the state of Kansas has put out beautiful artist renderings, Danger. Mind you, nothing endorsed by the team, but these are renderings for a Chiefs dome. Mm-hmm. Here we go. And the Bears want a dome. And then, this news out of Cleveland where, they're at least giving you options. Hey, do you want to pay the $1 billion we are asking for here to refurbish the first whatever energy name of the month here that we're naming our stadium? Or, what we really like? The $2.5 billion for this. Look at this. It's a new dome. And with this new dome comes development and urban revitalization, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a different topic I'm going to push to the side for a second, but okay, dome in Kansas City, dome in Chicago, dome in Cleveland. I love the weather, the cold, the physicality. This league, Danger, is not going to stop until every freaking franchise has a dome, I swear. Look, it's not going to happen in my lifetime, certainly not that, we have a non-dome going up in Buffalo, but I bet it will. I bet it will in our lifetime. Only a few teams will be like the Buffalo Bills, who actually play in the outdoors.
Do you think there's a moment in time in the future, not the near future, but in the future, where they retrofit New Highmarks. I'm already looking ahead to the first time they need renovations at the new stadium. Like, they haven't even built the stadium yet, and I'm already thinking, what are the renovations going to look like 10 years from now, 15 years from now? Do you think they get to a point where they're like, you know what, we got to put a roof on this thing. We'll retrofit it. We'll put a roof on this thing.
I say no, because for this reason, and this is going to kick up that other argument, in Chicago, look, it doesn't make sense from the football history. I think of Bears football. I think of all those guys like Sayers and Butkus and your 85 team, certainly. And like, honestly, like, that should be outdoors. But Chicago can make the argument like, hey, look, if you pay for this, hey, we'll get things that Indianapolis has. Would you rather? Okay, that makes sense. What about Cleveland? Okay, Cleveland could enter the Indianapolis argument, I suppose. Like, Cleveland, hey, it was great you hosted the Women's Final Four. Guess what's going to happen to the Women's Final Four? They ain't going to go to a regular arena. They're going to go to domes in the future. So
the Super Bowl is becoming to America what the Olympics have become globally. Meaning, I think when you build this stadium with the hopes that you can get a Super Bowl, you can host a Super Bowl, and you can get the infusion of cash that comes with having a Super Bowl. But what does it, at what cost? Like, if you're Minnesota, if you're the Giants, if you're teams that will host Detroit, teams that will host a Super Bowl once and then never again with your new stadium, what's left?
Right. Well, the Olympics in this regard are actually ahead because they have trouble getting places to put in real bids. I mean, they handed out the two because that was the only two they had. Paris this year, LA in 2028. Where do they go in 2032? Ultimately, I think the Olympics should just be kind of a rotation. Hey, it's in LA, it's in Beijing, pick another few places, and that's it. And that would make sense for everybody, that you have some of these facilities or the infrastructure or whatever it is, rather than where, hey, we're going to go to somewhere we've never been before. Sorry, the world isn't created equal.
I just think that Cleveland and Kansas City, and by the way, I think the Kansas state legislature broke before they even got
it's not. So it's
not happening.
No, not well, it's tabled. Like, yeah. It's just like, so this is going to be kind of an honor. I didn't even mention Jacksonville. Isn't that funny?
Right.
Like, Jacksonville put out their artist renderings of
Well, I think all of these markets, whether you're talking about Jacksonville, Kansas City, Cleveland, they're all missing the boat. See, Chicago set a new precedent last week when they unveiled their artist renderings. What you need to do moving forward, if you want that stadium,
I know you're going.
You need to get God involved. You need a pastor to show up, a priest, somebody to show up and say a prayer. Say a prayer that you can help build this stadium. Really, I mean, like, it's right there in the Bible. I don't know if you guys have read it or not, but I mean, like, it's something that they worked on back then in the times of Christ. They wanted a stadium, the Coliseum, whatever they could build, and they built it on the back of slaves, and they didn't care.
What book is this? Revelation, right at the end, where we're.
So when you're a pastor and you're familiar with Scripture, all you're doing is going up there and asking God for help in building your $1 billion palace, which is what they did in Chicago last week. Which, I don't know, who has a problem with that? Anybody have a problem with that? Oh, that's right. Everybody has a problem with that because that's ridiculous. Go, please, God, please help these poor billionaire owners, build a stadium without spending any of their own money. Can you please help us? Please. Let's help extract money from the peasantry who could barely afford to keep their families fed, just so that they have a stadium that football players can play in on Sundays. Can we work on that a little bit? I don't know. I didn't hear of any reports during these artist rendering rollouts from Cleveland or Kansas City that they had a man of the cloth delivering any sort of sermon or speech, hoping that we would be praying for a stadium to be built in those markets.
Yeah, it's this is funny. So, update on the Bears thing, because today they were supposed to, the Bears, meet with aides from the governor's office. Okay, so was the state on board with this from the get-go? No. So, like, to go back to your medication thing on how to sell, Danger, that's called pull advertising. We're going to push soon something like, hey, we've got this restaurant, come try it out, push. No, pull. Go ask your doctor for this, okay? Go ask so this is the pull marketing. We're going to put out the artist renderings of the stadium, and now you go ask the governor to use your tax dollars at work. Okay, that's the plan here, because there aren't any tax dollars. This is coming from an aide. Have you seen this?
No.
Okay, this is fantastic. Okay, putting it right down. The money that comes from this hotel tax does not belong to the Bears. It does not belong to the White Sox. It does not belong to any sports team. That belongs to the taxpayer. There needs to be an evolution of thinking that the way owners and sport teams approach asking and paying for sports stadiums, because we are in a different world than we were 30 years ago. And it seems like everybody else understands that except for the people on these teams.
Yeah. Who's that from?
That is from an aide for the governor
of Illinois. He's right. He's absolutely right. Will it change? No. It's not going to change. I would love to tell you that it's going to change. We're all suckers, man.
I would say to that aide, yeah, that's true in your state. Here in our state, the governor would just be like, oh, you know what? Sure, here you go.
Yeah.
But it's not really from the taxpayer. This was money from the Native Americans.
Found money.
Found money. Here you go.
Yeah. Found money from us saying yes to legalized sports wagering, or from the Indian casinos. Yes, that's where it was from. And don't worry, the rest of the costs will be covered by the PSLs. And if it's not covered by the PSLs, the overages, we'll just sell a quarter of the team. We'll be okay. But whatever happens, not a cent of what we have will go into the building of this stadium. The Pagulas are setting a benchmark that it's going to be it's a high bar for others to clear. I mean, Chicago's they're going to have their challenges in trying to match what the Pagulas have done. This deal with New York State is unbelievable for the Pagulas. Unbelievable. And if Chicago can pull it off, good for them. But that aid is so right. We're suckers, man. We're complete suckers. And if the Bears think that they're going to get their beaks wet by getting a taste of that hotel tax, no way, man. No way. That belongs to the state.
Why I always thought, this is going back before Pagula, but, for the Toronto threat, why doesn't Toronto have a team? Because they won't build you a stadium in Canada. End of story. Hey, you want your own stadium? Rogers built the Dome, or whoever the company was before that. I always thought maybe Rogers Communications would, kind of the big cable company up there, build something in Toronto. But no. The NFL doesn't like that.
Mm-hmm.
The NFL does not want you, the owner, to build your own stadium, because then everybody would have to do that.
Right. Kroenke was the exception, right? In L.A. It was a different situation because he wanted out of St. Louis and saw the opportunity to be in market number 2 instead of St. Louis. And Jerry was the guy that kind of convinced him convinced everybody that would be okay.
That would be okay, because you're going to make more money and everything would got to go up, which, look, it has. There's no doubt. Like, you make more money in L.A. than you do St. Louis. I'm just thankful that it was Kroenke and not whoever was the owner of the Buffalo Bills at the time to make that. It could have been any team to move.
Hot stadium talk here in the sports bar.
Look, 3 domes. Get out of here with all of them. Come on, you don't want Chicago Bear football in a dome. It's a beautiful September afternoon. You don't want it in a dome. You have cold, warm weather team coming up here for the NFC Championship game in the year 2030. What are we doing in a dome?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. And I've been to Bears games. I've been there on cold days. I've been there on warm days. There's something that I love about that area. I know they're going to keep the columns and their artist renderings. Like, that area is still that area. The new palace, the artist renderings look pretty spectacular. And everything around the stadium looks spectacular. I don't know that it'll look like that when it's finished, if they get it done. I don't know how I feel about that one, Gino. I do think that there is, you're right, not in our lifetime, but if the NFL had their way, every stadium would be safe from the elements, and everybody that's there would enjoy and not have to worry about being too cold or too hot, or the sun is beating down on us, or
And the owners can put that stadium that they have their tentacles in to work for them with this concert and that.
That's right.
And all these other events.
That's right. We'll take a break here. We'll come back. We have time for your calls at 866-4326. Sal Mayoron of the DNC will be stopping by to talk more Buffalo Bills here in about 20 minutes or so. Join us, again, 585-866-4FAN.
You're listening to the Sports
Download the free Odyssey app to listen to games, podcasts, and radio stations like The Fan Rochester for free. Odyssey, for everything Bills, Sabres, and Amerks. Follow The Fan Rochester in the Odyssey app.
The Fan Rochester Sports Update.
One more day. We have to wait for Amerks playoff hockey. Game 3 coming up tomorrow night in Syracuse. Amerks head coach Seth Appert wants to keep his team loose.
They're going to go out there and play their tail off. I don't need to make them more nervous. I think if anything right now, you try to find ways to add some levity and some lightness to the moment to make sure they're playing free and playing loose. And Safe as Death is a good reminder of that.
Appert joining us every Tuesday here in the Sports Bar. NBA tonight, Celtics facing the Heat. Boston can advance with a win. Clippers and Mavs, they play Game 5. That series tied at 2. We'll talk some Bills coming up later this hour. Sal Majorana from the Democrat and Chronicle to join us. Rochester Red Wings tonight, they are hosting Syracuse once again on the Major League scoreboard. Twins looking for their 10th straight win. They've gone up on the White Sox 6-5 in the 8th. Oakland leading against Pittsburgh 2-0. They're in the 4th. Gene Battaglia, The Fan Rochester.
Neat or on the rocks? It's the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
We believe in ourselves, and we know it's going to be a challenge. It's a hard place to go and play, and historically, our fans have done a great job of traveling there and kind of neutralizing that side a little bit for us, which is awesome, and why I love playing here so much is because the support from the community and whatnot. But it's definitely going to be a tough challenge ahead, no doubt.
There's Amerks forward Mason Jobst. Now, Seth Appert wouldn't tell us yesterday what his team's travel plans were, but the Amerks social media team had no problem letting us know the team was getting on the bus today to head to Syracuse.
I was just a little caught off guard. I think it was just a simple question because usually you go to Syracuse, you go to Utica, you're usually going the day of, but playoffs, you want to get the team away, and declined to answer that. Yeah, probably because he hadn't told the team yet. Hey, by the way, guys, if you're planning on going to dinner Wednesday, we're going to Syracuse.
That's right. Looking forward to that. That action tomorrow night here on the Fan Rochester just after 7 o'clock. And Mason's right. The Amerks faithful have traveled well in the past, especially to Syracuse. And they'll be looking for support tomorrow night as they look to take the advantage again in that best-of-5 series.
Follow up with Jimmy Patsos. If you missed him last hour, we got to book him more. He is fantastic. Former Siena head coach, does a lot of radio and TV. He's covering the Washington Wizards and the Mystics. There's so many questions I could have asked him about. Like, you give him the ball, he takes it, and he runs. Yeah. And then, when our time was up, it was up. And I thanked him for the interview. I'm like, Jimmy, this is the text exchanger. Jimmy, thank you. You're too funny. Apply for RIT. RIT has an opening for the men's basketball job. I should. It's a nice job. Me, your wife would love it here. Him, great town and hidden gem.
Jimmy Patsos, next RIT men's basketball coach.
Come on, Jimmy.
Breaking news in the sports
Next
bar.
time we're going to have him on, did you or did you not apply?
And he'll say, guys, I love you, but I'm good. Happy wife, happy life, right? That's what they say.
I think probably he would say, how would he get it? How would he say, listen, I was a Division I coach. I don't feel like going down to Division III.
Gino, let me ask you a question. If your wife wasn't from here, if my wife wasn't from here, and we were working outside of this area, and we moved to this area with our wives who aren't from here, do you think our wives who aren't from here would enjoy living here?
You would have to give it time. You know who we should ask that question to? And not husband and wife yet, but I know, like he said it on the air, like the seats warm. Mossbrooks. So Andrew Mossbrooks, you hear him on the Emmert broadcast. He's doing a lot of the games. He has been with the same girl now. Like honestly, he needs to. Like, how would she think? What does she think about Rochester? She came along here from the outside. I'm sure there's a lot of people that come in and.
Yeah, I wonder about that. I mean, we're not going anywhere, right? We're advocates for our community because we know we're not leaving. We're not going anywhere.
No.
Our wives are from here.
I'm not
Family
going to
is
Buffalo.
Here.
I'm staying right here.
Yeah, we're not going anywhere. Yeah. Like, this is it. This is where we're going to be. As long as there's family here, this is where we will be. But for those that are coming from the outside in, I think you have to put a little bit of a full court press on If you're if you're trying to lure Mrs. Jimmy Patsos, come to Rochester.
I don't think you do, Danger. It's all about what she values.
Where are you taking her, to Park Lee?
You're taking her to the Finger Lakes. Like you could have you're Jimmy Patsos.
Taking her to Skinny Atlas. You're taking her to Canandaigua Lake.
Yeah, you're showing those homes in the Victor Hills. Okay, like, hey, you know what? Our money here in D.C. doesn't buy us much. You want that? You want that? I have a friend who actually did that and it worked.
Do you do the standard what we do to everybody who comes to town for the first time? Do you take them to the big Wegmans in Pittsford and throw caution to the wind, hope that there's no gunshots when you take them there?
Yeah, what was that all about?
Weird.
Yeah.
No. I think Jimmy's humoring you there. I think that's very nice of him to do that. I don't think there's any chance, but it would be something. It would be fun. We could say, hey, yeah, we had a part in that.
Well,
luring Jimmy Patsos to Rochester.
Or better yet, hey, you're RIT, or you just go Division I. Just do it. Come on.
Well,
chop.
If you wanted an advocate,
yeah.
Jimmy has that kind of pull, that kind of voice, I think, within the college basketball community. He could probably make some noise about that if you wanted that to actually happen.
Yeah, like we're entering a world here between, hey, the Division I haves and have-nots. If you're a Division I program by name only and you're not making money, look out. Look out. I mean, I feel sorry for some of these mid-majors that, okay, maybe you'll pop for a year or two, but like everything is going to get tilted really quickly here.
Speaking of college athletics, Deion Sanders is getting torn down a little bit here and I really don't understand why Coach Prime has decided to kind of go on social media and go after guys.
I know why, because everybody has a hot button.
This is his kid.
Right.
Yeah.
It's everybody's kid. If somebody comes after your kid, can you be man enough just to kind of stay down? And like nobody's really coming after the kid. The story's this. Let me back up. Basically, there's a player named Xavier Smith. Never heard of him. Didn't know. The Athletic does a story, and it's kind of got this angle of, hey, when Deion Sanders cleared house there in Colorado, there was collateral damage. Like basically said everybody out. And some of these kids didn't have an opportunity to kind of actually reapply. Just said, hey, you're getting in the portal. And so in this article on The Athletic, there's the quote from this former player. He was destroying guys' confidence and belief in themselves. The way they did it could have been done with a little more compassion.
Now, when I hear that quote, I kind of want to go after him too. Like, oh, boo-hoo. Like, oh, coach wasn't nice to you because you didn't do it the way he wanted you to do it. I mean, like, that's kind of life, isn't it? Like, you're not going... Compassion?
Well, I'm wondering...
football?
If Deion, if you are there, it's like one or two things. He says get in the portal, and you're like, you know what? No, coach, I'm not getting in the portal. I'm going to help you win games. If he stood up to him, do you think that would have won him over?
I mean, I don't know if it's what he wants to hear.
Well, that would.
You have to do more than just say it. You have to prove it. You have to do it on the field.
Yeah, and you run the risk of getting caught.
Sure,
that's also part of it.
Right.
So, you know, there's all this entitlement that goes on there. But for some reason, now you have to grade Deion and Shedeur on two different curves. Can we say that? Because Shedeur still is college. Yes, I understand they get paid, blah, blah, blah. But Deion's the coach. He's got to carry himself in a little way. Shedeur retweeting this article from The Athletic, I don't even remember him, to be honest. Bro had to be very mid at best. Which, okay, I wouldn't have done that, but then everybody starts coming at Shedeur.
Yeah. Yeah. What did Shedeur say that was wrong? I mean, he probably doesn't remember him, honestly. Like, I don't know that.
No, but you're the quarterback. You got to be kind of above. When does Josh Allen, again, not apples to apples, but when does an NFL quarterback actually snap back at any player that kind of says something negative about the team?
Yeah, the closest I think you have to somebody like that is Rodgers, right? Like, and he does it in such a kind of passive aggressive way. Yeah.
Right.
It's just bizarre. It is weird to me how, and I know that there are people that have never really been on board the Coach Prime bandwagon that don't really like his antics or haven't been rooting for him to have any sort of success at any level at any point in his career because he's done it his way and he's done it with flash and charisma and he's probably ruffled some feathers along the way. which isn't everybody's cup of tea. But we build them up to tear them down, don't we? Just societally, we build them up to tear them down.
Right. And the thing you can tear down is, hey, that was a lot of fun last year. They're 4-8. They're 4-8. And if it doesn't go this year and you're responding to things like this, what I see happening here, Danger, is the fun story of Coach Prime in the videos and everything else. And they start out 1-4 again. It's like, okay, that didn't work.
Yeah.
And in the son being propped up, and he may be a top 5 pick in the draft.
Yeah, I saw somebody dunk on Coach Prime online, and I don't know if he responded to this or not, but his comment to Coach Prime was essentially, you're nothing more than LeVar Ball with a headset. So we'll kind of monitor that. But if you're somebody that didn't want to hear Coach Prime's name for the upcoming college football and everything that leads through the pro season into the next year's draft, you're going to be hearing it a lot because Shedor's probably going to be a top prospect in the 2025 NFL draft. Take a break here and come back. We'll talk some Buffalo Bills. Sal Mayorano of the DNC next on The Fan.
In the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia. Weekday afternoons on The Fan, Rochester.
Back on the Bills beat for the DNC. Sal Majorana joining us in the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia. And then you go to Buffalo for day one of the NFL draft, Sal, and, well, the Bills don't pick at 28. And they trade back, and they don't pick at all. And you're probably wondering, what am I going to write about now? Sal, how are you? And how was that first night of the NFL draft for you covering the Buffalo Bills?
Well, you're right. I mean, we knew it was going to be a late night because they weren't supposed to pick until about 11:15. And then, then he makes the two trades back, and it ended up being a really long night. But there was still a story to write because that was a story, trading with the Chiefs and moving right out of the first round. Look, I mean, I was fine with the moves he made. I mean, guys, every team has generally between 22 and 25 first-round grades in the first round. And I know for a fact the Bills did not have a first-round grade on anybody who was left when their turn came up. So they made the move, and I thought it was smart. They picked up the third-round pick from the Chiefs. They improved their fourth-round pick, all to go down 5 spots to get a guy that they were going to pick at 28 most likely anyway. So I thought it was a really good move. And, it was, fans didn't have someone to celebrate that night, but, wait one night and they had somebody to celebrate.
Well, so Diggs is gone. Gabe Davis is gone. Keon Coleman is in, and you have other guys like Mac Hollins and Curtis Samuel. Sam, Sal, what is the level of concern we should have with the Bills' wide receiving core right now?
Well, look, I mean, it's not the same unit that it was last year. You take Stephon Diggs and even Gabe Davis out of the mix and replace them with Curtis Samuel and a rookie, Keon Coleman. That's not the same thing. So there is a little bit of concern, but I also will say it's still May 1st, so I'm not too concerned. Let's see how it plays out. I mean, I think Shakir is going to be a good player for them. I think he'll get better. He'll have a little bit of a bigger role. Curtis Samuel, I mean, there's potential there. The guy is an NFL veteran. I think they can do some things with him. And really the key guy here is Dalton Kincaid, right? I mean, I think what you're going to see, remember last year, the Bills wanted to go with a lot of 2 tight end sets. They wanted Diggs and Davis on the field, and they wanted Knox and Kincaid. Now, this year, I think it's very possible that they try to do a little bit more of that, and that'll get Dawson Knox on the field as your regular tight end. But I think we almost got to start thinking of Dalton Kincaid as a receiver at this point, because he really is. That's what he is more than anything. He's a wide receiver in a tight end's body. So if you're going to throw out Shakir, Curtis Samuel, and Dalton Kincaid as your quote-unquote 3 wides with Dawson Knox, that's not bad. And then you can move in Keon Coleman, as he gets used to playing in the NFL. So I think maybe that's how we have to think about the wide receiver room. You got to include Dalton Kincaid in the mix.
Sal, what would you say to the fan who was out of their mind on Thursday night, just at the notion that Brandon Beane would take the call from Kansas City? I mean, is that just the emotion of being a fan and the fear of knowing that Xavier Worthy at some point could be scoring against the Buffalo Bills? Is that just Kansas City living rent-free in Bills fans' kitchens?
That's exactly what it is. Bills fans are so obsessed with the Chiefs, and I understand why. I mean, they've knocked them out of the playoffs 3 times in the last 4 years, so I absolutely get why Bills fans are always concerned about the Chiefs. But Brandon Beane knew that they were going to take Xavier Worthy anyways at 32. Nobody was picking Xavier Worthy, and the Bills, like I said, they made the move to get a guy that they weren't going to pick Xavier Worthy. Whatever reason, the Bills were not going to pick Worthy. They liked Coleman's size better. They liked his profile better. So it was a smart play, I thought, that the Chiefs are still going to get their guy. The Bills are still going to get their guy. And guess what? The Bills got a 3rd-round pick out of it. So I don't know why people were freaking out, but well, I do know why, but they shouldn't have been, put it that way.
Yeah, Sal Majorana, Democrat and Chronicle. Sal, I'm just kind of listening in on all the conference calls and a few press conferences from the guys that were in. How would you kind of characterize the draft class overall? Because it seems to me like we're going back to the process here a little bit. Like, I hope these guys can really play, but I can tell you what, they all kind of came off pretty well speaking to reporters in Buffalo.
Yeah, I mean, all the kids did come off pretty well. I mean, Keon Coleman, stole the show with his little performance there. I mean, I'm not all into the performance of talking about Macy's coats and eating the Wegmans cookies. I want to see what he can do on the field, but the media did eat that up. So I guess it was a good first impression. And yeah, some of these other guys, look, they all can talk a pretty good game. They got to get out in the field and do something, and that's going to be important because this Bills team did lose some pretty big time players, and they've got to replace some spots on the roster with cheaper, younger, and hopefully talented players. We'll see. We'll see what they got out of this group. Quite frankly, I can only see maybe 4 of these guys even really getting on the field and making an impact this year. The first 4 guys they picked, I think you could all make a case they will get on the field and play. But everybody after that, you're looking at inactives on game day and practice squad, and maybe a couple guys won't even make the team.
Sal, I want to beat the drum for the guy that they did take in the 5th round, Cedric Van Pran Granger, the center out of Georgia. And the reason why, I think, is multiple reasons why. One, 3-year starter, great program at Georgia, 2-time national champion, familiar with James Cook. And if you somehow find that, if that kid finds his way onto the field, let's say he becomes this year's Osiris Torrance, where out of nowhere a rookie ends up starting on this offensive line, the continuity that you built last year with McGovern staying at left guard next to Deion Dawkins isn't as disrupted as it would be if you moved McGovern and inserted Edwards. What's your take on that? Do you think there's a path for Van Pran Granger to find his way to anchor that offensive line for the Bills in 2024?
I don't know if it's going to happen in 2024. I mean, it's a tough position to learn in the NFL center. Bean did say that they want to play him. They want to get him playing guard a little bit too. So if he does make the team, which he will make the team, if they're going to go with him as the interior backup on game day, he's going to need to learn to play a little bit of guard. So I think just by doing that, taking reps away from center to get him used to playing guard will probably, I would think, keep him off the field as the replacement for Connor McGovern. Now, if it goes bad, if McGovern struggles at center and or David Edwards struggles at left guard, I could easily see them making the move and getting the kid in there. But I'm thinking down the road for him. I'm thinking 2025 might be the spot where you see him on the field.
Sal Mayrana, our guest here, talking about the Bills draft picks. Sal, get your thoughts here on Ray Davis, the running back out of Kentucky. And unlike James Cook, who, he had a little bit of action in college, you could see the talent. Like, Ray Davis has some miles on him. He's produced in college, and I think he's somebody that could step in right away. I'll ask the question this way because, toward midseason, and especially when we kept hearing McDermott talk about complementary football and how important, and there, I could just hear fans hearing the eye roll coming from them, like when it kept getting brought up. Are we going to get more of that this year? Like the Brady offense here, can we kind of expect it to maybe tilt a little bit more to the run this year than maybe in years past?
Well, that's kind of what Dorsey did when Brady took over for Dorsey. They did lean more into the run game. Now, some of that was competition, some of that was weather, a little bit of weather. But I can see that he would like to lean into James Cook, a bit more from the start of the season and help Josh Allen out, take some of that burden off his shoulders. So, and that's why they re-signed Ty Johnson. I think they liked what Ty Johnson did. I mean, they did wear out Cook. I mean, I think he had 283 touches last year. That's pretty tough, especially I think he had more touches last year than he had his entire college career. So they needed to get Ty Johnson back in the building, and I like the Ray Davis pickups. Now you've got 3 guys that I think they'll be able to trust, on game day. And I like the fact that Davis, and the thing that Bean pointed out about Davis was that he's a tough kid, especially in pass protection. That's the one spot that, Latavius Murray was okay at that last year, but they definitely lacked in that area. Cook certainly couldn't do it. And Johnson's not very good at it either. So I think that's his path to get on the field, is to be that third down back for the Bills. So, yeah, I see them running a little bit more, but let's not forget Josh Allen's your bread and butter, and he still has to lean into that passing game more than the running game.
Sal, I wanted to touch on the undrafted free agent class as well, and the most notable name is Frank Gore Jr. You can't say that they're a zero because we've seen undrafted free agents make make their case in the NFL and find their way onto NFL rosters. From what you've seen from just a glance, do you see any of these guys showing any of that potential? I mean, the bloodline there is strong for Gord Jr.
Yeah, I mean, obviously he's got the names, and he had a hell of a career. I mean, he had a very, very good college career, so the numbers are there. Who knows? You know, there's what I always say about undrafted free agents is there's 32 teams that passed on these guys at least 7 times. So, you know, people get all excited about undrafted, and yeah, once in a while a guy's going to slip through and he ends up making a team. But I'm not holding out hope that Frank Gore all of a sudden is going to come in here and take over for James Cook. You know, same with some of these. They've brought in a couple receivers. I know there's the one kid from Ohio State who barely played, but they love his athletic profile. So we'll see what he can do. But yeah, I'm not counting too much, especially for a team like the Bills. I mean, the Bills of the 2000s, yeah, some undrafted guys could come in and play, but they're not playing on this team most likely.
Sal, I'd love to get your opinion, if you have one, your perspective on this story, or maybe we can lump them together, about Pegula shaking things up here, that indeed they're looking for a minority partner here in the team. We don't know what percentage, and you did have the report from Tim Graham that apparently the Nighthawks, if you want to buy them, which, I mean, that I don't know if I would say concerning, but it's certainly our radar is up here in Rochester. So I guess part one of the question is, what do you think this is all about? And part two, you know, to what degree do we here in Rochester, as fans of our local teams, should we be concerned here?
Yeah, I think the Nighthawks are definitely a team, and I'm not real close to this. I mean, I stopped covering the Nighthawks 10 years ago, sadly, so I'm not up on it at all. But I think that's a team they want to unload. You know, they own the Bandits, and I think they realize that having 2 teams in the NLL is probably something they don't have to do. So I would look for now I heard recently that the season ticket holders were informed that, you know, buy your tickets for $25, $24, $25, but the year after they're probably going to move on. So I understand that move. I think the Amherst are perfectly safe because they're the farm team for the Sabres. I wouldn't worry about that. And then in terms of the Bills, look, I mean, it's a straight cash grab. This is all this is if he sells 25% of that team valued at whatever, $4.5 billion, just do the math. That's the money that they're going to use to pay for the overruns, to pay for the stadium. And, you know, the downtown arena, they're going to be doing some things. So this is just a straight cash grab. They're not going to have any voting say in what the Bills do. I'm not quite sure why anybody would want to do that. But, hey, if you got an extra $1 billion laying around, why not? It's like a stock, I guess. But that's really all that is a cash grab for the Pegulas.
Sal, well, we have you. Got to get your take on the Yankees' start to the season. Just watching the last couple of nights, it feels like I can almost hear you writing out your tweets in my head as I'm watching big names strike out and just kind of whiff with just no real discipline at the plate. What are you seeing out of this year's Yankee squad?
Yeah, look, I mean, I never had faith in this team. I said it all off season. I do my newsletter almost every day now, and I've been harping on it there. This offense, Juan Soto has been great. It's a great addition. He has obviously elevated them a little bit. So has Verdugo to a certain extent. But other than that, it's the same guys from last year who are doing a lot of the same things. Plus, Judge has been awful. Yeah. I mean, we did not expect this from Aaron Judge. He's been horrible. Torres has been horrible. So to me, it's very much the same team. There's a couple new pieces, but Baltimore is so much better than the Yankees. Younger, athletic, faster, talented. I just can't see the Yankees keeping pace. It was a nice start, but since they were 12-3, they're 7-9 to close the month. So that's kind of where I think the Yankees are a team that can make it as a wild card, but they're really not going anywhere in the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, the thing, too, when you're looking at this tonight, the Yankees would make a move like Corbin Burns is really, really good. I mean, were the Yankees ever in on that? For Baltimore to get a starter like that, Sal, you're going to be reminded of that tonight. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, I'm sure the price was something they didn't want to do, and it was probably, maybe Dominguez. It was probably Spencer Jones, too, who looks like he could really be something down the road. So I understand not doing it. What sucked about that is, like you said, Baltimore got him. I mean, if he had gone to just about anywhere else, you shrug your shoulders and say, okay, whatever, it's a one-year deal. But the fact that he went to Baltimore, a team that probably really didn't need them because they're already very, very good. That was a punch in the gut for the Yankees for sure.
Sal, tell us a little bit about that newsletter you're referencing. Tell us about where we can get more coverage here, your local coverage that is legendary, that we have grown to know and love through the course of time here at the DNC.
Yeah, I do I do this called Pinstripe People, and I put it on it's actually on my Twitter, the pin profile. You can subscribe to it. It's free. I put it out every day during the week, and I put out a weekend recap on Monday. There's also history stuff that I do in there. It's a passion project for me. Like I said, it's free. I'm not making any money on it, at least not right now. So I really invite people to sign up for it, and I think you'll enjoy it. If you like me being curmudgeonly, you'll certainly enjoy it because there's plenty of that. But once in a while, I give them their props. So, it's a lot of fun.
Sal, thanks for making a few minutes for us today. Appreciate it.
All right, guys. Have a good day. Take care.
You got it. There's Sal Mariano of the DNC. And you can check out his profile there on X at Sal Mariano.
Following up on the Nighthawks thing, they did put that out there today, season tickets on sale. They're collecting money for next year. But I think he's right that they still are running the arena, the Pagulas, next year. It's after this coming season in the fall going into 2025. What's next after that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and if you're a Nighthawks fan clinging to hope that they stay in Rochester, your hope is that somebody buys the team from the Pagulas that has an interest in keeping the team in Rochester. Who is that person? Who has that kind of wealth to do that kind of deal with the Pagulas?
Instead of like going down to the marina and buying a yacht, or whatever it might be, you might be interested in buy yourself a sports team.
Where's Danny Wegman when we need him? Danny, I've been buying your groceries every week for the last 25 years of my life. Can we get some of that to go into one of our sports teams? Can we work on that? Yeah, become a quarter owner of the Buffalo Bills. Let's work on it. Happy hour is upon us. In fact, it's here. You can join us, 866-4FAN, 585-866-4326. We'll get you set up for tonight's action. There's plenty going on. We've got some pivotal games tonight as well. And we got a recap of what we had last night, which was fantastic. More amazing action in that Sixers-Knicks bloodbath. It is a series.
Yeah.
We'll get into that and more next. A round of shots and last call. Again, 585-866-4FAN, 866-4326.
92.3 Rochester. The sports leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan. Rochester. An Odyssey sports station. The Fan Rochester. Sports update.
The Amherst taking an overnight trip to Syracuse. Yes, they're leaving a day early as Game 3 tomorrow night. Ethan Prowl is ready.
Right now our focus is on Game 3. Getting back to playing the way we can and going into a tough building, but it's one that we played in plenty and know what to expect.
Series tied at a game each. Don Stevens, Brian Duff will have the call tomorrow night here on The Fan. Tonight's the NBA playoffs. Celtics facing the Heat. Boston could advance with a win. Clippers and Mavericks playing Game 5. That series is tied at 2. Rochester Red Wings coming off a loss to Syracuse in their opener of that series. Same two teams tonight at Innovative Field. On the Major League scoreboard, the Royals leading the Jays 6-1. They're in the bottom of the 8th. Top of 7, the A's leading Pittsburgh 3-0. Yankees tonight down in Baltimore. Gene Battaglia in the sports leader, The Fan Rochester.
The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
We're into May now. This is schedule release month. You know, it's a couple of weeks. We'll get it.
There's guys that are still out there that can be had that I think could add to this wide receiver room. So I don't think Brandon Beane's necessarily done. He's just going to have to do a lot of late in the season shopping.
Mike Danger.
What do you mean expiration? It's snacks. Like, it's not healthy to begin with.
Gene Battaglia.
Do you want to bet on video games or Papa Shot?
Hello, Tyrese Maxey. Welcome to the show.
The shorthanded Bucks force Game 6 in Indy tomorrow, and the Cavs held off the Magic for a 3-2 series lead.
Give me the Mavs. Give me the Celtics by 17. Boston in a beatdown.
Avalanche finished off the Jets 6-3. They win the series in 5. And the Hurricanes disposed of the Islanders 6-3 to take that series.
That's the Amherst. Safe as death.
And I do want to talk about Mike Trout. Another bad break for him.
Not a winner.
Because of a swarm of bees.
It's showtime! The Mets win! Put it in the books!
Dandalorian trolling us.
Don't you know that you're just a game to me?
95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan. Rochester.
It's happy hour, and you're in the sports bar. Danger and Battaglia. Glad you're with us at 95.7 FM, AM 950, the free-to-download Odyssey app, or our video stream up now on our YouTube channel, The Fan Rochester, also on Twitch, twitch.tv/The Fan Rochester. Gino, I'm not going to say that it isn't a total threat, but I am going to say that if bees are the thing that take me out, bees are not going to be the thing that take me out. Bees will not be. The threat of bees. Was it Dodger Stadium?
That was in Arizona.
Last night?
Yep. It was behind home plate.
I've seen bigger colonies of bees in my attic. I've seen bigger colonies of bees underneath my overhang.
No, that was pretty big. Like all of a sudden these bees show up behind. No way. I don't want anything apart.
Have you ever had an infestation?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Where you've had to call we had to call. They were getting in through there's a hole in the concrete. They were getting in, and they built a nest in the wall. This was a few years after we built our house, and I remember walking around the house, and every now and then I just see like a bee or a dead bee. I'm like, what? Where are these bees coming from? And I'm mowing the lawn one day, and I see the bees kind of like working their way into the foundation of the house. I'm like, son of a bitch, the bees are getting into the house. That's where they're getting in from. So we call the guy, and he's like, oh, yeah, you got a big, like, big. So he does the spray. And, Gino, when I tell you where we had our junction, our electrical box, our junction box, I opened it up. Hundreds of dead bees that he sprayed. And, like, I couldn't get the smell of dead bee out of my nostrils for days. Like, all I could smell was dead bees in the basement because of this infestation. It was terrible.
Yeah, like a crack in the dryer vent for us, and they came in and like you just noticed it in the basement, and then pull back some insulation. Like, oh my goodness, there it is. Here's one thing don't do, and maybe I had a drink or two one night and I realized I shouldn't do this. I noticed a nest in our backyard up in a tree. I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm like, you know what? I bet I can hit this with a rock from so far.
Of course you can.
You know what? I did. That was dumb. Knocked it down or knocked it a little apart, and then I am far away, Danger. Within seconds,
they're coming after you.
Yeah, because I heard it like if you want to like go out there at night and burn it, I'm like thinking, nah, you know what? That doesn't seem very safe to me, doing that way either.
Yeah,
call it professional.
I guess you have to be safe, right? Like the Diamondbacks don't want to deal with any lawsuits, somebody getting stung by a bee, but. They delayed that game 2 hours, and then the beekeeper goes out and throws the first pitch. That was nice. Nice little touch.
So do you think like Shohei and everybody else going up to bat had dead bee smell?
The smell of dead bees, I will never. It was horrific. And then, the aftermath of vacuuming up all of the dead bees, because there was hundreds. Get the shot back out, and I'm just vacuuming up dead bees everywhere because there was a colony living in the wall that you didn't even realize was living in the wall until you bring a specialist over and they know what they need to do. We had a lot of action last night. I mean, that was kind of setting the table with the bee story there out of Arizona. But what happened in Madison Square Garden last night, I wonder if that will have an impact on the Knicks' ability to close out this series. Now the pressure's on the Knicks, right? I think the pressure's on them. You didn't get it done in Game 5. Now you got to go to Philly. And if you don't get it done in Philly, a Game 7 with Maxey playing the way he is,
I just read this. The Philly fan still isn't on board to the point where they had all these tickets that were kind of dumped. So if you watch Danger Game 4, you had Knick fan taking over, which I loved.
Yeah.
It was great.
Yeah.
Well, apparently there were 2,000 tickets available, and I guess the guy from Fanatics, big Philadelphia fan, he may have part of the franchise, bought up 2,000 tickets and is going to give them to Philadelphia first responders, assuming that they're going to, actually cheer for the Sixers, which, hey, don't get me wrong. It's always good to kind of donate to people that you really kind of deserve something like that. It's also freaking embarrassing for your fan base that it's a playoff game and you're dumping tickets like the Sixers fans
I wonder what that is. Is Embiid that unlikable even by the Philadelphia fan base?
I think it's when you're sold something under false pretenses, you're kind of getting to know Embiid a little bit more. And you could just say it from the basketball standpoint, not a closer. Like, he's putting up these numbers. He scored 30 in every game. I get that. I understand that.
Triple-double last night.
Yeah.
9 turnovers.
Right, but when it mattered. But the slap in the face at the end and the stupid crap that he does, that's not a guy you want to cheer for.
Well, Maxey is. I love the Maxey story, and he showed up last night when they needed him most. What was it, 7 points in the final 28 seconds. He hits a logo 3 with 8 seconds left, 4-point play. I mean, Maxey, and then, taking over. Basically, Embiid became an afterthought. Embiid, the turnovers, despite his best efforts to blow the game for the Sixers, Embiid carried that team and really felt like he had a moment. He arrived. We haven't seen something like that happen in the Garden to the Knicks dating back to Reggie Miller. I mean, like that was the momentum feels like it's shifting a little bit in their favor.
I just take it like one game. Honestly, I still think the Knicks are up. And if it goes 7, that's great for the NBA. Like first round, we're kind of reminded this year, all right, sure, you have the Clippers and Mavs tied at 2. Personally, I'm not staying up for that tonight. But if you get a Game 7 for the Knicks in the Garden against the Sixers, 2 big market teams, sign me up for that. Boston should wipe out Miami tonight. I almost feel like we need to fast forward here to what's next here. Where out west, hey, those are a lot of fun teams. But I'm actually kind of concerned for the NBA, and here's why, Danger. I kind of see where things are going. We're joined by Jimmy Patsos earlier, and what the coach, and by the way, that is also a rule. When somebody's been a head coach, you can always call him coach. That's always safe. Jimmy
Even though he wasn't your coach?
Yes, he's just Coach Patsos. Coach was the coach at Townsend. He was the coach at Siena. He congratulated the new Siena head coach, that being Jerry McNamara.
He was never your coach.
No, but you still call him coach.
Okay.
Yeah, so Coach Patsos joining us earlier, right? And going over the East, and hey, Indiana should knock out. Are we really putting a stock in Indiana? No. Do we really think the Celtics are this worthy number 1 seed? I don't. And now Porzingis is going to be out for who knows how long with the same injury that Giannis had. Jimmy says watch out for Cleveland. So what if Cleveland is the team that somehow cut their way through, which I could see, Mitchell, that's a fun young team. And guess what you're going to have coming out of the West? A fun young team, whether it's OKC, Minnesota, or Denver. Spare me the Clippers and Mavs. I don't think so. Okay, so take your pick here. Just do the wheel. Cleveland and Minnesota NBA final. Everybody on board?
Cleveland and OKC.
Yeah.
Or Orlando and OKC. That's. I don't think Orlando's going to get past a team like Boston or New York, but that. The thing about those teams that the OKCs, the Minnesotas, they're a lot of fun, man. Anthony Edwards is a lot of fun. That dude absolutely snatched KD's soul as they were sweeping that team. I mean, he dunked over KD with no regard, does not care, taking the mantle and running with it. I love it. And he's so young and he's exciting and he's not holding back, right? And SGA is kind of similar with OKC. They're fun. They're a lot. I don't know that they're going to beat Denver. I still like Denver out west. I love Jokic. I love what that guy. I love how that guy just seems to make everybody around him better by constantly making the right decision. Now, for all of Embiid's warts last night, and I say that about a guy who did have a triple-double, it did seem like when, the turnovers aside, Embiid was making the right pass when he needed to make the right pass. And Maxey was he had ice in his veins, just unstoppable. He had a costly turnover by Brunson late as well. And so they regroup and we'll have a real exciting Game 6 in Philadelphia tomorrow night. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, it should be fun tomorrow night. Celtics and Heat tonight. Not
Celtics
so sure.
should close them out, right?
Yeah.
Like, if you have that killer instinct, close them out. And Jimmy was also like, hey, look, they're unstoppable when they're hitting their threes. If they stop hitting their threes, they are vulnerable. Look out. And they're so dependent on that if it does happen where they're not hitting, Miami could make something of it. We'll see. But I would imagine that they get dispatched tonight and that Boston advances. And in the NHL last night, we saw Colorado advance. We saw Toronto stay alive. And we saw Nashville extend and stay alive as well. So,
thankfully, the Islanders are out.
Islanders are out.
And
Carolina
now,
took care of them.
Right now, you're going to have Carolina and the Rangers.
Ooh.
A lot of people are pointing this out. You have the number 1 record, the Rangers, going against the team with the third best record.
Yeah.
Tell me how this playoff format's good again.
Yeah.
That feels more like that should be the conference final.
That series does have conference final written all over it. It doesn't mean that it's not going to be a good series, even though it's not the finals. That's a good series, man. I can't wait to see the Rangers and the Hurricanes beat each other up. That's going to be a lot of fun. Tonight, you have the Kings hanging on for dear life out west against the Oilers. And you also have... you have the Golden Knights and the Stars all even up there in Dallas. I like the Knights tonight.
You can write to us on X as Peter did. Joel Embiid has a Donovan McNabb vibe in Philadelphia, as someone who's lived in Philly. Yeah, that's interesting because when McNabb showed up on the scene, Philadelphia hadn't had a quarterback since when? And they kind of embraced him. But I don't know if it was T.O. or was it never getting over the hump, but they just kind of
Here's
turned
what
on
happens
him.
in Philadelphia. Your act gets tired in Philly. We saw it with Andy Reid. You saw it with Donovan McNabb, and you're seeing it now with Joel Embiid. Your act gets tired, dude. We love you when you're the best, when you're out there and you're performing at a high level and you're winning MVP awards and you're healthy and you're the best guy on the court. If you have that, they'll take that forever. But when you start, when the injuries happen, you start to roll your eyes. When the antics happen, you start to roll your eyes. When the turnovers happen, now you're like, why? What are we doing with this guy? Don't you think we could do better? What is going on? I think the act just wears thin. And I don't know. I mean, it felt like it was Tyrese Maxey's team last night. Maxey took over that game, not Embiid. Maxey won that game. I don't know that you could say that it's Maxey's team. I don't know who the true alpha on that team is, but it felt like last night it was Maxey. So I think the Embiid thing, just like McNabb, just like Andy Reid, I think in Philadelphia, your act wears thin if you're not winning. If you're not winning championships. And they're nice. They get to the postseason, and Embiid's been a big part of that, and they gave up a lot to try and get it right with one player, and Embiid is that one player. And now Embiid is not that player. He's not that guy. He doesn't look like that killer that you need to win a championship.
We talked to Selma Mayorana from the Democrat and Chronicle, and one of the questions we put to him, hey, what's going on with the Pegulas here? And basically like, hey, look, it's a cash grab, and they're going to be kind of like now liquid if they need to have cost overruns, and what's going on with the Sabre Stadium. Something a little interesting note here, because Tim Graham is the guy who reports on what's going on here. Terry Pegula has transferred a small percentage of the bills to his daughter, Laura Pegula. Like, wait, who's Laura? Oh.
Was she the one that was at the conference, press conference with Lindy Ruff?
First door.
From the first wife.
First wife, yeah.
Okay. So she has a percentage of the bills?
Bills, yeah.
Okay. I mean, that's why, if you're Terry and Kim Pegula, that's why you buy the Bills and the Sabres, right? You buy it so that you can pass it on to your kids? Part of the reason why you buy it?
It's not. You got to do some advanced planning here. Like how many teams do you see here because of the estate tax? You can't do that readily. It's very difficult to pass it to the next generation unless this is part of the plan here. Like, okay, we're going to do this over time. I don't know. This is way over my head.
Imagine that's got to be part of their plan. I just think to myself, like, if I ever buy a vacation home, I'm not just buying it for me and my wife. I'm buying it for my kids, and someday they'll be able to vacation.
How do the kids get along here, though? Because it's funny how Jessica Pegula, Jessica Pegula basically said, hey, when my days as a tennis player are done, I want to become more invested in. I'm like, you know what? That's good. Yeah, like, absolutely. Come back up here to Western New York, Jessica. We would welcome you. But how well
that's Kim's daughter.
Yeah, right. And then you've also had, and I've heard this from a couple sources, that Terry's son just sits in on the scouting meetings. Just because, well, he has a right to, I suppose. So everybody's going to have...
Why do I have the image? I know that this isn't it. I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but why do I have the image when you say Terry's son sits in on the scouting meetings? I just see a little toddler in the corner playing with Legos.
No.
Just sitting in there like the scouting meeting is also a daycare, and Terry's son... I know I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but that's the image I have in my head. It's just some kid playing with Legos in the corner during the scouting meeting, like they're making important decisions on who's going to be on the roster and who's going to play here and who's going to do. And Terry's sitting in, and his son is there in the corner.
What do you think, Joey? I like Joey Urshela.
Yeah, writing with crayons. Coloring. Got the coloring book out. They're drawing up plays, and he's scratching out a little drawing in his coloring book. Yeah, that I always heard people say, be careful about getting into business with family. That money is a thing that will kind of divide a family if you're not careful. And I wonder what that relationship is like between Terry's first wife and his daughter versus the kids with...
We don't know anything about Terry's first wife. I don't even know if she's still alive. I'm being honest. I don't know. Maybe somebody could fill us in, but why... It can go bad. Just see what happened with the Denver Broncos. Pat Bowlen dies. Kids can't agree on anything. Team has to get sold.
Yeah. Well, I know that's not going to generate a ton of headlines, but I feel like that is significant, and I appreciate you bringing that up, Gino. I think when we saw her at the press conference for Lindy Ruff, I know a lot of people are like, who's that? One guy, who's that? Oh, that's Gwelly. That's the new COO. That's the new money guy. And who's the other one? Who's the woman that's up there? Oh, that's Terry's daughter from Marriage One.
But I didn't even know her name. Now I know her name.
Yeah.
Laura Pegula.
Get familiar.
Also, Terry Pegula is 73. Like, at what age do we consider, like, overtime in life? Is it like 80,
at what age do you consider, I don't want to be working? He's still, like, very involved.
Come on. Like, all these owners, like, they're involved somehow.
They're involved.
Yeah.
He's absolutely involved. At some point, he's not going to want to be involved anymore. Enjoy your life, man. I'm sure he enjoys it. I'm sure he enjoys a pretty good quality of life.
Wait a second. That's why I sell 25% of the team now. The super yacht can get purchased.
We have
all aboard.
It all makes sense.
All aboard.
Terry's got on his captain's hat on. He's got Yacht Club playing on the Lido deck, ready to go. Yeah, he's.
Oh, welcome, Mike. Dave.
Yes,
I really didn't
we
like what
understand
you were
you're a fan of the Super Yacht. We have Yacht Club over here, and they're going to perform Lido Shuffle later tonight. We got to get to a round of shots next in the sports bar.
Yeah, so it is a busy night in sports here. Danger, one of your favorites. Let's show some compassion for Mike Trout here. Something unlike what Stephen A. did. Might be the not sports take of the year.
Ooh.
Stephen A., I'll save it here for shots.
All
That's
right.
coming up here. Also, and we got a Tiger Woods update, too.
All right, we'll get to a round of shots next. Last call coming up at 866-4FAN. You can pull up a stool before we close up shop at 866-4326.
You're listening. Sports Update.
One more day we got to wait for the Amerks in Syracuse. The Amerks getting a head start here. They're going overnight to Syracuse. Head coach Seth Apper wants to keep his team loose.
They're going to go out there and play their tail off. I don't need to make them more nervous. I think if anything right now, you try to find ways to add some levity and some lightness to the moment to make sure they're playing free and playing loose. And Safe as Death is a good reminder of that.
Don Stevens, Brian Duff will have the call tomorrow night here on The Fan. NBA tonight, Celtics facing the Heat, Clippers and Mavs playing Game 5. Rochester Red Wings coming off a loss to Syracuse, Game 2 of the series tonight at Innovative Field. On the Major League scoreboard, the Twins have won 10 in a row now, as today they defeat the White Sox. Yankees tonight taking on Oakland. A's leading the Pirates, top of the 8th, 3-0 Oakland leading. Atlanta up on Seattle 5-1 in the 7th. Gene Battaglia, The Fan, Rochester.
The only way to take The Fan Rochester with you is the free Odyssey app. Download it today and follow the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan Rochester.
You're back in the sports bar. Danger and Battaglia, glad you're with us this afternoon. Thanks for making us part of your afternoon routine. Time for a round of shots.
Yeah, Kristaps Porzingis not going to be in the lineup tonight. The Celtics forward has a calf strain. They say it's the same one just like Giannis Antetokounmpo had, so no word on when he'll be back. But Boston, they should be okay tonight with a chance to advance at home against the Heat. They're up 3-1. That's on TNT at 7:30, followed by the pivotal Game 5. Clippers and Mavs, LA without Kawhi Leonard tonight. Series tied at 2.
Maybe that's part of what the issue I have with the NBA. And when we talked to Patsos earlier today, I kind of wanted to ask him about the difference between some of these star players that we watch and that we fall in love with. Man, hearing that guys are missing time in the playoffs, I know injuries happen, but I hear calf strain and I think to myself, well, the NHL would never. Or
the NFL would never.
NFL would never. And I guess maybe that's a little hypocritical. I mean, look, Austin Matthews wasn't on the ice last night for Toronto. They get the win in overtime and advance that series, or stay alive in that series against Boston. But man, I just feel like in the NBA, so many of these guys that are star players, whether you're talking about Giannis or Zion, or if you're injured, get out there. It doesn't matter. It's still the playoffs, right? I mean,
what are you saving it for?
Right. There is no tomorrow.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to say that somebody is wrong for not playing when they're injured, but at the same time, we know how this goes.
Are you injured or are you hurt?
Right.
Play hurt.
Right.
Danger, you may remember this story. The University of Houston football team had alternate uniforms last year. They're pretty cool. They resembled the uniforms of the Love Ya Blue Houston Oilers, just trying to connect to their hometown fan base. Baby blue jerseys, red trim, white helmets, very sharp. Yeah, the NFL didn't like that. They sent the school a cease and desist.
Oh, boy.
Well, a follow-up to the story. The school says, yes, the uniforms are coming back.
Good.
Stick it, NFL. Says the AD, quote, this isn't a reach. This is a layup. We've got a very defensible position. No word yet if the NFL will actually follow through on their cease and desist.
What are they claiming here? That we own the color powder blue? I mean, I don't understand what they're trying to prevent from happening here with the University of Houston.
They're not using the oil derrick. They're not using that. They're not using the font. They're not using any of that. It's the color scheme.
Yeah.
And if you just kind of look real quick, that looks like the Houston Oilers, I suppose. But we're going way back.
Yeah, so do the, if you add a little red to the North Carolina jerseys, they look like the Houston Oilers too. Do they own the color powder blue? I don't understand what the NFL... You know what? Let's just take it a step further if you're the University of Houston. I want to see Earl Campbell out there. Let's get the tearaway jerseys. Let's get Billy White Shoes Johnson doing a dance in the end zone. Let's go full-blown Houston Oilers while we're at it.
Okay, like I was going to say Kenny Stabler, but he's no longer
Give me
with
Warren Moon out there, bring Warren
Dan
Moon.
Pastorini, we're going to play the Houston Oiler game.
Yeah,
you guys,
give me the tearaway jerseys so that you're running back.
Ernest Givens,
that's
Chris Dishman. There we go. Tiger Woods went on the Today Show. Says his plan is to play one tournament a month. Next one being the PGA Championship in Valhalla. Woods did make the cut at the Masters, but it went very poorly after that. Finished dead last, 16 over par.
Now, I am behind, and I haven't been paying attention. I know that he's no longer with Nike, and he's got like his own brand, right? He was sporting it at the Masters. Do you know anything about this?
No, I do not.
So the brand is I think it's his own brand because it's a little tiger logo. And I looked at it, and I didn't see or hear. I saw the interview on Today, but I didn't hear the interview on Today. And I think they were trying to explain the logo. And if I looked at it, if I'm interpreting what I saw, every line in the tiger logo is a stripe, but it's actually a hole in a golf course. It's like a golf course map that's in the shape of a tiger.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Huh.
When you look closely at that logo, and again, I'm behind on this, so forgive me. I'm sure there are people out there that are like, yeah, dummy, that's exactly what it was, and why didn't you know about this when he moved away from Nike? I just saw it today, like every housewife in America did as well on the Today Show, and I'm like, oh, that's interesting. The new logo is actually like in the shape of a golf course. Every stripe represents a hole.
I don't know if they like being called housewives anymore.
I'm sorry.
I don't know if they're even
domestic goddesses.
Yeah.
Okay.
2 games tonight from the NHL. The Oilers look to close out the LA Kings. That from Gray, Dismal, Alberta. Edmonton up 3-1. 10 p.m. on ESPN. Before that on the network, it's the Golden Knights and Stars playing the pivotal Game 5. That series tied at 2.
It's called Alberta, Gray, and Dismal. Pot, meet, kettle. What are we doing?
I only am putting that up because our buddy Dennis Bernstein, upon arrival, puts a picture like, welcome to springtime in Alberta.
Oh, he's like, not wrong. Like the picture he showed. But you know what the picture he showed of downtown Alberta looked very similar to what Rochester looked like yesterday, minus all the dark, crusty, grody leftover snow from the winter that still exists in Alberta at the beginning of May.
Finally, Angels center fielder and winner.
Not a winner.
Mike Trout has a torn meniscus in his left knee. The best case scenario is that the 32-year-old Trout will be out 4 to 6 weeks. The Angels 11-19 so far. They haven't made the playoffs in 10 years. Stephen A saying it's a terrible take, Danger. This is karma for the Angels.
Oh,
that Mike Trout got hurt.
Well, I'm not excited to see any player get injured. Mike Trout, you're saying the best case scenario here is 4 to 6 weeks. I don't know. I have a feeling like we're not going to see Mike Trout until after the All-Star break. Like, I don't think we're going to see him anytime soon, because why would you come back? Why would you rush back? What do you you're getting paid. You're on the team. You're the best player on the team.
I think at this point, he's chasing numbers, right? Like, can I get to X number of hits to get into the Hall of Fame? He's 32, so clock is starting to tick. And baseball is weird. I think in football we can have a different discussion on what makes a Hall of Famer, but baseball, get to that 500 homer, get to the 3,000.
He'll be a Hall of Famer, but he hasn't won anything. That's the only thing that I would discredit is like, yeah, he's a Hall of Famer. His numbers are going to be ridiculous, but he hasn't won anything. Not a winner. Hasn't won anything as a professional baseball player.
His numbers are not as good as you would think. Only 1,648 hits. Now 378 home runs. He's 32. You got to get to 500.
He'll be a Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
Baseball writer loves them some Mike Trout. Strapping. Built. He's just built. He's just he's a specimen.
He's also from New Jersey.
Oh, yeah. You know who else is from New Jersey?
Yeah, that's what I heard. Yeah.
The boss.
The boss.
Yeah. He is the boss. Mike Trout, he's a Hall of Famer. Even though he hasn't won anything, we'll get him in the Hall.
I think Baseball Writer would put him in on the first ballot.
For sure. Absolutely. There's a round of shots for you in the sports bar.
One other thing, too. I was saving this for you. I don't know if you saw this or not. It's an NFL transaction. Not a big one, but one of our favorites is on the move. Signing with the L.A. Chargers. Oh, excuse me, the L.A. Rams. Former Philadelphia running back Boston Scott.
I did see that, yes. The Brian from East Tilton, one of our regulars, with one of the all-time takes. Boston Scott sounds like a bad sports talk caller. Hey, welcome to the sports bar. Guys, thanks for having me on. It's me, Boston Scott.
Yeah, I'm not really happy with the Sox, and I'm not sure about the Celtics here.
I'm not too happy about having to go to L.A. either. Let me tell you, that's a long flight from Boston. So now Boston Scott has to go from Philadelphia to L.A. Got to go play for the Rams.
That sounded a little Rochesterian, though. The Rams. That was not very Boston.
Oh, yeah? We got to get to closing time. Last call. Next, 866-4326 if you want to pull up a stool.
66432-6, The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
Fun afternoon in the Sports Bar today. If you missed any of today's show, you can go back and listen with Odyssey Rewind in the free-to-download Odyssey app. All of our segments listed for you there. And wherever you get your podcasts, search out the Sports Bar for our guest appearances like Sal Mayoron of the Democrat and Chronicle joined us last hour. We also talked some hoop with Jimmy Patsos, NBC Sports Washington, former coach of Siena. Good getting some basketball talk on with Patsos. He was fantastic as always. Again, search out the Sports Bar wherever you get your podcasts. Last call at 866-4FAN.
Yeah, what do you think of here about the Bills or whatever else is on your mind? The floor is yours. First up, John in Rochester. Hi, John.
Hey, guys, listen, you got to feel sorry for Terry Pagula. Here's a guy that was thinking you only have to come up with $550 million for the stadium. The latest I heard, and I think I heard it on your show, and I've read it, it looks like it's going to be a $2 billion stadium. So he's going to have to come out of pocket for $1.15 billion. You got to feel sorry for the guy.
This guy.
And I'll tell you, that's a heck of a sacrifice.
John, you are unbelievable.
Wow.
You're unbelievable. Wow. John, come on. He's not paying for any of it. You know that.
Come on, yeah. That's equity, man. He's got to put that equity into it.
John.
There's no doubt about it. Even though he's worth $7 billion, he's not that liquid.
There it is.
The other thing I got to say, I miss Horvath and John Ram. I got to hear that. John Ram and Horvath.
We're not doing enough live golf talk here
No.
to talk about our buddy John Ram, Ryan Horvath.
Oh, I think so much happened during the draft that you didn't hear this story, or maybe you did. So on draft night, I took the video the NFL put out, and they're doing like the drone footage. All these people just standing around Detroit waiting. They're not drinking. They're not dancing. Nobody's doing anything. And everybody is like, wow, look how great this is. And I just put out there, hey, this isn't a concert. It's not a game. No one's signing any autograph for you. What is in this for you? Little I know that became a topic on BetMGM tonight. And 2 of the 3 hosts agreed with me on that. Yeah. The other one, being Horvat, called me Mr. Krabby Ass. So all of a sudden I get these messages that I'm Mr. Krabby Ass. I'm like, I should Trista know. I'm like, wait, did you just call me Mr. Krabby Ass? And then, nope, she threw Ryan right under the bus. Nope, it was Ryan.
It's fantastic, Mr. Krabby Ass. All right, tomorrow in the Sports Bar with Danger and Mr. Krabby Ass. We'll talk some NFL draft grades with Thor Nystrom, Fantasy Pros, Betting Pros. Thor will have thoughts on the Bills. Hall will dive a little bit deeper into all of these picks made by these 10 picks made by the Buffalo Bills and what they could potentially bring to the roster. You shouldn't have said that because now I'm not going to be able to stop calling you Mr. Krabby Ass.
Well, Mr. Krabby Ass, talking about myself in the second person, has Fisher Lacrosse tonight, 7 o'clock.
And boy, the way you sold it earlier today, this game should be tight. It should be scintillating. Listen, if you're going to listen for anything, listen for Gene's call of Yahtzee, because then you know that Gene's in a good mood. He's almost out of there.
Yahtzee means running clock. That's our little hat tip to you, the Sports Bar listener.
Yeah, so listen for Yahtzee tonight during St. John Fisher Women's Lacrosse. Gene will have that call for you here coming up shortly. We appreciate you checking out the Sports Bar with Danger and Mr. Krabby Ass here every afternoon at 95.7 FM and AM 950. Don't forget, search out the pod wherever you get your shows. The Sports Bar, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and the free-to-download Odyssey app. JR Sport Brief on the way next on the Fan Rochester.
You're listening to the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.